2:05.3 for Telitz.
So, Rob, we've seen some drivers now come down pit lane to make some adjustments that you mentioned after that fourth lap, and then they're going to make some adjustments and head back out and try and get one good lap in the books. What kind of adjustments are they going to make when they come down pit lane here?
You know, I got to think most of these guys, maybe a small shock adjustment. Obviously, they can't change the spring, but a small shock adjustment. They could change the aero a little bit as well. Ride height is something that they deal with a lot.
I would think maybe trim the wings back a little bit.
It's always a possibility. You're gonna change the way the car is going to handle. Obviously, the tops, you trade top speed for the stability in the corners, and also the way it's going to handle the bumps And actually, I talked to a couple of drivers. Not a lot of bumps on this racetrack. Really, one of the only places they talked about was coming through turn 14. I guess there's a bit of a bump rolling into turn 14. So he said, if you see some different exit points, you'll know why.
There's a little bit of a rise just coming up. Now, obviously, there is some repaved areas that kind of fixed a lot of the bumps that were out there. It was paved last year prior to this weekend. So the grip level in some of the corners is a little bit different as well. So you can't necessarily adjust for the higher grip corners versus the lack of grip in other corners. So finding that fine balance this weekend for these drivers and teams is going to be critical into going fast here. What I'm surprised by, though, is how much faster. I guess I'm really not surprised, but how much faster, half a second on the field right now. For Aaron, he's quick here. We know that. I guess I'm a little surprised at how much of a gap he's got right now.
Primarily, I'm surprised at how much faster he is than Pato O'Ward. He's a full second quicker than Pato right now. But you hit the nail on the head at one point, Eric, when you said this is a long racetrack with 14 corners. If you're a little bit off in every corner, you're 1.4 seconds off. You can, because there's so many more corners.
It's real easy to get yourself behind.
Yeah, you make a mistake, especially in 14, or if you make a mistake down in 3. You lose so much of your top speed when you're trying to get down there.
Those are the big corners for these cars. You have to carry so much momentum. As you mentioned, 14 is so important because this front straightaway is about 0.8 of a mile. So if you kill your momentum off of 14, you hurt yourself all the way down the straightaway.
One of the things you have to teach these young drivers, you do it in karting and you do it in car racing as well, they want to extend a straightaway. They want to go as fast as they possibly can, so they go deeper into the braking zone and push deeper into the braking zone and maybe mess their braking up. And the line you always tell a lot of these kids, as you've heard the line before, slow in, fast out. If you want to stretch the straightaway, make it longer, get on the throttle earlier. Don't hold it later. Get on the throttle earlier. The earlier you're on the throttle, the more exponential your top speed is going to be at the end of the straightaway because you're on the gas first.
We talk about that. It's backing the corner up. Normally you can go deeper to the 2 marker maybe, but maybe instead you come to the 2.5 or 3 marker. You back the corner up a little bit earlier. You get a much better drive off the corner, and you get a much more straight line speed. But at the same time, when you do that, at the opposite end of that straightaway, you're now compromised. You've got to find that happy balance.
Sure.
Because now you've got to break a little bit earlier still to keep the momentum up. So it's all about finding the proper rhythm and the proper location to get on and off the throttle. And how much brake do you use? Do you use a lot of brake? Do you kind of let the car roll into the corner? Depending on transition, if you're loose under power, do you let the car kind of sail into the corner? You lift off. Instead of braking, do you kind of let the car just take care of itself and let the gears slow the car down? What do you do as far as a technique to come in and out of each corner? So there's a little bit different driving styles. You have some guys that are a lot smoother on the throttle. A lot of guys are just hammer down, and you'll see them making the corrections inside the cockpit. So that really kind of, we talked about putting together 14 solid corners to get one good lap. And if you don't do it consistently lap after lap, no matter what you do to get into the corner or off the corner, it doesn't really matter.
A lot of coaches will try to get their driver to really get on the brakes heavy. They want to drop that car down quick, get on the brakes, get a lot of your braking done early so that you can get back off, start coming off the brakes a lot earlier into the corner. It allows you to get back on the throttle a little bit earlier, as Eric said. And that's something we'll see. We'll talk to some of the drivers after this session. I'll ask them when I'm in the paddock how they're able to handle the brakes here, because we don't have a lot of racetracks where we have straightaways like this. We like, I said it from the very top of today, we like long straightaways, we like heavy braking. The drivers love that. They know that when there is heavy braking in 1, in 5, down in Canada Corner, that's really where you have to work hard and get the car to balance as you're working into the braking zone.
When they go into, Eric, but when they go into Canada Corner, they're coming off of a period of the track where they're on the gas from about 8,
Sure.
from about turn 8 through the carousel, through the kink, through 11. They're on the gas. So getting down into 12 is probably the fastest part of the track.
And the weird thing about this racetrack, I've always said when I was trying to learn it myself, was you almost have to transit. You have to almost point yourself to the braking zone because when you come into turn number 5, the braking zone's kind of working its way to the left. It's not a straight braking zone. You kind of get yourself in there, turn to brake, and you're almost going outside of the racetrack. Same thing when you're coming over to Canada Corner, you're not lined up with the corner because you're kind of coming out as you're working your way through the kettle bottoms there. You kind of work your way back across and then into the braking zone. It's such a challenging racetrack.
And now we've had a couple of other sessions, including some sports car laps here. Now you've also have the Verizon IndyCar Series has been on track. This track now, during this qualifying session, you talked about it earlier, transitioning across different types of rubber now.
Most definitely.
So now your braking points may be a little bit different because is there a little bit more rubber grip in the corner? Or is it get loose for you depending on car setup, depending on your spring package, your shock package.
Ride height.
Ride height. All of those things in transition make a big difference.
Well, obviously the sports cars are on the brakes a lot earlier, too. The rubber starts going down earlier with the sports cars because the Indy cars brake so much deeper into the corner. And that's, again, Indy Lights brake deeper, IndyCar brake even deeper, and that's why there's so much different rubber when you're coming into the corner. And again, for these drivers here, they didn't have that before because they were on the racetrack before the Indy cars were out, before the Pirelli World Challenge was out. So these drivers, of course, with Cooper tires all around, a different compound, a different tire manufacturer, these first couple laps, they kind of had to feel out the way the racetrack had evolved throughout the day. Couple drivers still in the pit lane. I think just Jake Parsons in pit lane right now. Looks like everybody else has been in and back out. About 6 minutes remaining, so 2 to 3 laps more if we're lucky. No one's able to go quicker at this point. 2:05.357. But again, most drivers going faster lap number 3 or lap number 4 on those fresh tires. If they indeed came in, made some adjustments, put on new sticker Cooper tires, we couldn't see it here from the announcer's booth, but if they did put new rubber on, you're going to see these guys kind of dial things in here on lap number, let's say lap number 7, 8, or 9. So Telitz now with 6 laps in the books. Jamin with 6 laps. He just got down to a 2:06.5. So Jamin not going any quicker yet. A 2:05.9 was his best lap. Continuing to watch what these drivers can do. So Jamin now on his 3rd lap. He'll be actually on his 4th lap. This would be the flyer now. But a 2:06.5, nowhere near. If they made adjustments, they have not paid off yet in terms of extra pace. Here is your top 10 with about 5 minutes remaining. Aaron Telitz in the Team Pelfrey car, a half a second quicker than Nico Jamin. Telitz in the yellow and black 82. Jamin in that soul red number 2. Jake Parsons in the Juncos racing car, that gray and white number 00 in 3rd spot. Nicholas DePero in the blue and white number 31 in 4th. So the 2 Juncos drivers in 3rd and 4th. Now Pato O'Ward, your point leader. He's won 6 of 7 races this year. He's mired back in the 5th position now. 1 second off, a 2:06.7 last time by 2:06.3 is best. So Pato not showing the pace that we've seen out of him early in the year. Will Owen now runs in 6th in the white and green number 23. TJ Fisher in the other black and yellow Team Pelfrey car, the number 81 in 7th. Kevin Davis in the black quick lube number 44 for JDC Motorsports, leading the way in the national category over the red, white, and blue number 13 of Bobby Everly. And then it's the white and red number 57 for Bob Kaminsky in 10th position. Aaron Telitz, a 2:05.841 last time by, getting close to his 2:05.3. And again, time winding down. 3.5 minutes remaining. Pro Mazda qualifying. Great day here for us.
Jamin just put lap number 8 in the books, and Rob, he didn't go any faster. He didn't improve.
In fact, he dropped off about 7 seconds, like he was trying to build a gap, or maybe just slowing to pull in. I can't see him trying to get a gap on the racetrack right now unless he closed up on someone, because at this point his tires are probably right at or past that optimal lap time, lap number. We only have 3 minutes remaining in this session, so even if he gets back around, he may get a couple laps. So we'll see if Jamin brings it back around here again. Indy Lights qualifying about 15 minutes from the tail of this Pro Mazda qualifying run. Of course, the good folks at the IndyCar Radio Network will be back at it. Nick Yeoman, the anchor for our Indy Lights broadcast. I'll be down on pit lane. We'll see which driver can step it up. Zach Veach, the young American driver out of Stockdale, Ohio. Quickest in the morning session. Nice hour-long session to get the cars up to speed. A lot of work being done down there. They did a lot of work on the setups of those cars. Drivers getting comfortable as well. We saw a lot of work with the springs, rear toe, ride height, wings, you name it. They were really going to work on the cars. I expect we'll see more of that during our qualifying session. 30-minute qualifying run for Indy Lights ahead of their first of 2 races tomorrow at 12 noon. 2 minutes remaining. Telitz, Jamin, Parsons, DePero, and O'Ward, your top 5. As Aaron Telitz in at number 82, looking to grab the pole position here.
And these Pro Mazda drivers will race twice tomorrow. First time at 8:55 tomorrow morning, and then they'll come back in the afternoon, race number 2.
Yeah, if you're a camper here, grab a coffee, start working on some breakfast, maybe some Baileys in it, whatever you want to do. 8 o'clock in the morning, we'll be your alarm clock. If you have a good time this evening, the alarm clock will come at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning when we have 24 USF 2000 cars out on the racetrack.
If they have a good time tonight?
If
well,
there is no question.
By if, I was kind of making how good of a time. If was to good, not to if it was going to happen or not. Yes, it will be a fine evening.
Unofficially over 800 campsites here this weekend. It's crazy.
That is awesome.
It's unbelievable to see, and so many fans that that normally may not camp out here are out here.
That's great.
And that's what's great about having this this series out here, as well as the USF 2000, just supporting the Verizon IndyCar series. It's great to have them back here at Road America. We're so happy and thankful that you're all watching even online. We're sorry that you can't be here, but if you got time, there's still plenty of tickets.
That's right.
You can get in the door. So come on out. Get here.
There's lots of places to watch here.
You got 2 days. Get here.
Very true. 204.782.
Almost a 1.1 second advantage now for Telitz.
Looking at the lap times getting laid down here right now at 204.728 on lap number 8. Aaron Telitz sets a new track record. New track record for Pro Mazda here at Road America. The former record, Pablo Donoso, back on August the 19th of 2006. A 205.302. Aaron Telitz now. The new qualifying record.
It's a race record, I do believe.
So 205.302 was the qualifying record for Pablo Donoso. 204.7823 for Aaron Telitz. A new track record being laid down by Telitz. A little quicker for the race record, but of course that's in a full draft. We'll see if they can do that tomorrow. But a 205.302 was the track record. A new track record, 204.782. Aaron Telitz resetting the qualifying mark here in Pro Mazda. Jake Parsons in the 00, second quick, 205.828 as Parsons jumps to second. An impressive run for the Juncos Racing pilot. Nico Jamin in the number 2 for Cape Motorsports with Wayne Taylor Racing ends up in third. He'll be on the inside of row number 2 for the start of the main event tomorrow morning. The first of 2, again, as we said, 2 USF 2000, 2 Pro Mazda races tomorrow. Nicholas DePero in the number 31, fourth quick. He'll start on the outside of row number 2. Row 3, we'll see Pato O'Ward. So furthest he started back this year, O'Ward going to start in the 5th position inside of row number 3 alongside Will Owen in the 23. Row 4 will be TJ Fisher in the 81 and Bobby Eberle in the number 13. Eberle the quickest driver in the national class. And row number 5 will be Kevin Davis in the 44 alongside Bob Kaminsky in the number 57. But wow, what a fantastic run at the end of that run, at that session. Again, 2 sticker tire runs. Aaron Thiel's able to get down to a low 2:05, but then he drops it down the final lap on the racetrack at 2:04.7823, eclipsing the qualifying record set by Pablo Donoso back in 2006 at 2:05.302. So a new record for Aaron Thielitz, just adding an exclamation point to the end of this qualifying session, a bonus point as well that he'll put on the books, and he's going to try to go for a couple of race wins tomorrow to see if he can't claw his way back closer to the current point leader, Pato O'Ward. Nonetheless, an exciting session for Pro Mazda. Indy Lights still to come. Their qualifying session next up. I believe Indy Lights set to go here at around 2:10. Yep, just about 9 minutes away for qualifying for Indy Lights. But again, ladies and gentlemen, a great run. Aaron Thielitz from Team Pelfrey, the Wisconsin driver, on the pole with a new track record, 2:04.782.
Kohler Company is proud to serve as the title sponsor of the 2016 Kohler Grand Prix. As a longtime motorsports supporter, Kohler shares in the passion and excitement of Road America racing. Kohler is a global leader in kitchen and bath products, engines and power systems, and premier furniture and tile. Kohler invites you to discover its world-class, award-winning hospitality and resort destinations in Kohler, Wisconsin, and St. Andrews, Scotland. Visit them online at Kohler.com. From the racetrack to the road home, fill up with Sunoco. Sunoco makes high-quality performance fuels for the greatest drivers in the world, both on and off the track. Whether you're pulling up to the pump or into the pits, you can trust Sunoco to be the fuel that keeps you going. Sunoco, the essence of racing. At Chevrolet, we set out to find new roads, and it shows in the way we design our vehicles. So whether it's keeping everyone safe with available advanced active safety technologies in the Equinox, bringing an unexpected sense of style to your drive in the all-new Malibu, tackling the most demanding jobs with the always dependable Silverado, or streaming your favorite music in the Cruise Limited, you'll see that every detail of your Chevrolet helps make your life more interesting. Get more than you expect for less than you imagined. Race fans, there's race day, and then there's race day made the Johnsonville way. You're probably thinking that means brats, and you're right, but race day made the Johnsonville way also means Italian, breakfast, and smoked sausage, plus delicious grillers. Their burgers and flavors like bacon cheddar and steakhouse onion, and new chicken kebabs, all natural chicken breast marinated to deliver serious Johnsonville flavor. If you've got questions, ask around. Chances are there's a Johnsonville member hanging out trackside today who can help steer your way to your own race day, made the Johnsonville way. Skag Power Equipment is proud to be the official lawnmower of Road America. Cut your lawn mowing time in half with American-made high-performance mowers from Skag. Proudly made in Mayville and West Bend, Wisconsin, Skag mowers are the benchmark of the commercial-grade lawnmower industry. Visit skagracing.com to learn more about Skag mowers. You can also find them online at skag.com. If you're in the market for equipment that provides you with the ultimate in performance, reliability, efficiency, and operator comfort, Gale is what you need to get the job done. From a full line of telescopic handlers, articulated wheel loaders, compact excavators, compact track loaders, and skid loaders, Gale is the product of choice. Gale dealers are available worldwide. Log on to Gale.com to find a Gale dealer near you. Test drive a Gale today. Lakeside Pepsi is proud to be the official soft drink sponsor of Road America. Quench your thirst with assorted Pepsi products available at all concession stands. Pepsi. Say it with Pepsi. Sargento, the official cheese of Road America, invites you to enjoy a delicious Sargento cheddar cheeseburger today at any nearby concession stand. Race fans know the best cheese is real cheese any way you slice it. Sargento, we're real cheese people. Road America's newest business partnership is with AAMS, the Academy for the Art of Metal Shaping. Road America recognizes that vintage vehicles which once graced this and other racetracks are now mostly seen in museums as pieces of automotive history, due in part by the lack of skilled metal shaping craftsmen to work on them should an incident occur. AAMS is a place where you can learn the rare art of metal shaping from a master coach builder, Mark Garish. Stop in and see a demonstration of metal shaping here at Road America on the main access road of the paddock. It's the big white open tent with all of the noise coming from it. Demonstrations are at 9, 10:30, 1, 2:30, and 4 p.m. daily. The display is interactive, so come on by, sign a release form, and have some fun learning how to shape some metal. Live music at the Blind Horse every Thursday through Saturday starting at 5 o'clock and every Sunday at noon featuring $5 Bloody Marys. Check it out at theblindhorse.com. You stand tall and work hard every day. So should the buildings on your land. Since 1947, Lester Buildings have built 150,000 post-frame building systems. Their engineers design every component for durability and safety, tailoring to meet your local snow and wind loads. Add in Lester's lifetime warranty, and you can't go wrong. Are you ready to get started? Find your local Lester dealer at lesterbuildings.com. Again, that's lesterbuildings.com. Safety Clean, a Clean Harbors company, is the official fluid recycling service company of Road America. Safety Clean provides automotive fluid recycling services for the competitors racing here at the track. Safety Clean is the largest refiner of used oils, antifreeze, and cleaning solutions worldwide. Safety Clean encourages all race fans to do their part to properly dispose of their used automotive fluids. Safety Clean, a Clean Harbors company. Help make green work. You can find Safety Clean recycling stations near the Orion Tech Center, St. John the Baptist concession stand, and near the Sunoco sign near the paddock press room. Just moments away from qualifying for Indy Lights. Up next for the Kohler GP of Road America here in Elkhart Lake. We now join IndyCar Radio. We interrupt the IndyCar Radio Network coverage of this qualifying session. I have a quick announcement. If you own a yellow Lamborghini over near the Carousel Campground, I need your vehicle moved immediately. If you have a yellow Lamborghini license plate LAMBUH in the campground area, I need that yellow Lamborghini moved immediately. Also, don't forget, World Challenge Autograph Session continues right now across from the paddock shop on the main paddock road. Back to IndyCar Radio.
About the buzz around this racetrack. When you have that many people here who have come here to camp to enjoy themselves, this is going to be a fantastic weekend. The weather, of course, turning around a little bit. We talked about the potential for precipitation on Sunday. That's kind of working its way back down to potentially 0% chance, which would be fantastic. These guys want a beautiful, sunny weekend here. And I'll tell you one thing, Nick Yeoman, I'll need the cup of coffee tomorrow morning. We're going to wake these guys up at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning with a USF 2000 race.
Sounds good, Rob. We'll provide that for you for sure. And certainly want to thank, you talk about all these fans that are in campers all around this facility. Want to thank the folks at Road America here for allowing the IndyCar radio broadcast. Of course, you can hear it on terrestrial radio stations, online, IndyCar.com, on the YouTube streaming site and Facebook. But to have us up on the public address system here at Road America is awfully cool as well. So for those joining us here for this Indy Lights qualifying session, we really enjoy it. Santi Urrutia at the top of the charts. We've got a local yellow for a slow car. I believe it's car number 2. That is Juan Pedrohita, who is 5th quick, but it is Santi Urrutia at the top of the charts in car number 55. Ed Jones is 2nd, Zach Veach is 3rd, Dean Stoneman 4th, and Juan Pedrohita is 5th. Back to pit lane and Rob Howden.
You know, Nick Yeoman, I'm telling you, as far as I can see, both sides of pit lane right now, it's brand new Cooper tires. The stickers are going on. It's Stoneman and Blackstock and Kellett, the entire Andretti lineup, all with new rubber on. As far as I can see down as well, looks like Carlin with new rubber too. Looking over to Kyle Kaiser, he's got new rubber on. And Nick, as we had talked about, that second set of tires coming off the pit box, the pit hauler here for Bellardi. It looks like Zach Veach is going to go to his second set of Cooper tires here as well. Everyone lined up, getting set to go for that qualifying run. Ryan?
And yeah, Ryan Marine, you're seeing a similar situation down on your end?
Yeah, that's right. I am seeing the Carlin guys now going to their sticker tires for the first time. And what's impressive there is Ed Jones is P2 on the timesheets. And just now they're bolting on those sticker Cooper tires. They're about to turn him loose. Doesn't look like a whole lot in the way of adjustments unless there was a tire pressure adjustment that they took care of before I got down here. But these Carlin cars, I don't think we've quite seen just what they have to bring to the table yet.
And you know, Jake, I was thinking with about 11 minutes to go in qualifying, thinking, it might be a little early to put on those new Cooper tires because, of course, everybody wants to try to lay down that last-second fast lap. But when you consider this is a 4-mile course, 14 turns, you got to use every second, every minute you have out on the track.
Yeah, and you're only going to get an opportunity probably in the last few minutes here to get yourself maybe, get a little heat in those tires and then get yourself a flyer. The other thing that we see a lot, and that is that you want to space out. Now, on this track, it's a lot easier to do than most, but you don't want to get in a position where should someone have a hiccup in front of you, it costs you a lap because you have to check up, so to speak. Right now, the person who is hoping that nobody else lays down really good times, that of Santi Urrutia, who is number 1 on the speed chart, followed, as you can see, by Ed Jones, then Zach Veach, Stoneman, and Juan Pedrohita. Action starting to pick back up again, but again, Nick, when you look right now at cars out on track, you can anticipate that they're going to want to back up just a little bit, give themselves some room if they're staying out.
Zachary Clayman DeMello climbs the hill to the front straightaway here. After putting on some fresh tires, he'll start to turn his first quick lap here in the later portions of this qualifying session. He is 12th quick in car number 13 as he sets up for the right-hander in turn number 1. Kyle Kaiser about 12 to 15 car lengths ahead of him. But as you mentioned, Jake, everyone chasing Santi Urrutia, who comes into this weekend 3rd in points, just 39 points back of Ed Jones. So that driver of car 55 is certainly in the championship hunt as we've reached the midway point. Back to pit lane, Rob Howden.
Yeah, Nick, Zach Veach just rolling out now, put the new Coopers on the car, the number 5, so he's going to roll back out, I think, P3 in the order right now. But interesting for me, no changes at all to the car. They went out, of course, and did that first sticker tire run. He kind of assumed that they would feel the car out, maybe make a minor adjustment. They just left the car the way it is. Maybe a little bit of a tire pressure adjustment. They did adjust the rear tire pressures at the very end before they sent them back out, but that was it. Nothing for the aero, nothing for the mechanical grip whatsoever. Zach Veach back on the racetrack.
Zach Veach certainly likes that race car. 3rd quick in qualifying so far, but as Rob talked about, a lot of drivers here in the last handful of minutes have gone to pit lane to put on a fresh set of Cooper tires. It's Santi Urrutia, Ed Jones, Zach Veach, Dean Stoneman, Juan Pedrohita, your top 5. Kyle Kaiser is 6th quick. Andre Negrão 7th, Felix Sorrells 8th, Shelby Blackstock 9th, Garrett Grist is 10th. Neil Alberico, 11th quick. Zachary Clement-DeMello is 12th. James French is 13th. And Dalton Kellett still trying to work out those gremlins. Lost a lot of track time trying to find some speed. He is 14th quick. It looks like Rob Howden, both Pelfrey cars making some adjustments on pit lane.
Yeah, working my way down here to the beautiful yellow and black cars of Team Pelfrey. Juan Pedrojita in the number 2 and Garrett Grist in that Mac Tools number 3. And they're both going to Cooper tires. The sticker tires going back on. The rear cowl coming off the car here of Pedrojita. Looks like it's going to be a minor adjustment to the rear suspension for him. Looks like they're doing a little front wing change on Garrett Grist. So, you know, in stark contrast to what we saw with Zach Veach, there are adjustments being made to the cars here in Team Pelfrey. Both cars a little bit different. Front end aerodynamics for Grist, rear end mechanical grip for Pedrojita.
7.5 minutes to go in qualifying. Jake Query, you've talked to a lot of race car drivers. You get to know them over the years. They kind of like these situations, don't they, where everybody's on fresh tires. You got a couple laps to lay down a big one.
I think you do, because as a driver, you know that it comes down now to it's all down to you. The team has done what they can to set the car up. They feel like they've got the best setup through all of the telemetry and data and the practice leading up to this point. Here's, let's put it, what we feel is going to work the best, and now go out and see what you can do. I was going to say that one of the things that really impressed me, surprised me a little bit, but I was happy to see, was that of Andre Negrão running in the 7th position on the speed chart. It's just been, quite frankly, a disappointing season so far, I know, for him. Whether or not it's the situation like we had at Phoenix, where he just had gremlins in the car and couldn't get out and couldn't get up to speed, so to speak, on a track in which he did not have a lot of experience on the oval. Other times he just seems to have been behind over the course of the weekend, but here he is, finds himself in the top 5 now, running, Rob, in the 4th position is Negrão, and one of the guys that I thought maybe we'd see a little bit higher up, Felix Sorales, currently in 8th, but Negrão showing himself right now with the top 5 in this qualifying.
You know, Jake, great pickup there for Negrão. They had that test at Mid-Ohio just about a week and a half ago, and Negrão was very strong in that test. In fact, the whole Schmidt-Peterson crew was very good. Both Santi Urrutia and Andre Negrão were the top 3, top 4 the entire test. So I think you're seeing some confidence and momentum. You're right. It's been a really tough year so far for Andre Negrão. Got into the wall at the Grand Prix of Indianapolis in that cold temperature before we even went to green. He's had a lot of downtimes here this year, but I think he's feeling more confident after that great test at Mid-Ohio.
Kyle Kaiser, the sophomore driver for Juncos Racing in car number 18, has jumped up to 2nd quick. Dean Stoneman now takes his Andretti Autosport Mazda to 3rd. No one able to knock Santi Urrutia off the top of the charts, and everyone's still about a half second from that fast lap. Now Andre Negrão goes to 2nd quick. So it is Urrutia, Negrão, Kaiser, Stoneman, and Jones, the top 5, with just about 5.5 minutes to go. Urrutia's advantage over Negrão's fast lap is now 0.2 of a second. It is 0.5 back to Kyle Kaiser, 0.6 back to Dean Stoneman, and nearly 0.8 back to Ed Jones. Zach Veach currently sits in 6th. We had a report that he put on a fresh set of tires, so we'll see what Zach Veach can do here in the closing moments. Ed Jones will take a shot at Santi Urrutia. He jumps to P2, but not close enough to take over the pole position. Jake, we're seeing a lot of guys jump up, but as you talked about, so far so good for Santi Urrutia.
Yeah, Urrutia just sitting and waiting, hoping that obviously nobody's able to eclipse that time, 1:53.2448. Ed Jones just behind him. Then you'd mentioned Negrão, Kaiser, Stoneman, and Veach. Nick, reality is this is pretty much the usual cast of characters now that we're starting to see. Felix Sorales would be the exception to that. He's a guy that we typically see a little bit higher than where he is right now.
And Santi Urrutia might have just drew the line in the sand, because he's not sitting and waiting, Jake. He's out there on the racetrack and just turned an even faster lap. So car number 55, that Soul Red Mazda machine. He's the scholarship winner from a year ago as the defending Pro Mazda champion. He goes even faster at 1:52.954 to extend that advantage over Ed Jones, who's now 2nd quick, to nearly a half a second. So that Mazda, that Soul Red car, Jake, for Schmidt-Peterson appears to be awful strong.
And again, now we're getting to the point, Nick, where realistically you have 2 laps left. That is the reality, because of the length of this track and the fact that it takes nearly 2 minutes to get around. We're inside of the final 4, so you essentially have 2 opportunities left to try to at this point get beyond Santiago, Urrutia, Jones, or Stoneman if you want that top 3.
Boy, Neil Alberico and Zachary Clayman DeMello nose to tail around the racetrack. That's car 22 and 13. They are not spaced out very well. So here comes Urrutia. He's being followed by James French. So the rookie trying to learn a bit from Urrutia. He is still the pole sitter. Ed Jones continues to go second quick, but he's knocking on the door. Urrutia's quick lap is a minute 52.95. Jones runs a minute 52.96. That's about as close as you're going to get with just 3 minutes left to go here in qualifying at Road America. Jake, still haven't seen Zach Veach jump up towards the top of the charts. That's a bit surprising.
It is a bit surprising, especially based on this morning's results. But the track temperature in the track, just the way with the sun splashed on it, maybe it changes a little bit. It was obviously this sunny earlier, but the track might have been a little bit cooler. Perhaps there was a little bit of cloud cover because there certainly is none right now. So we'll see whether or not Veach just missed a little on the balance, perhaps. But I'll tell you, when you look at right now where everybody is slated, you got to be impressed by Dean Stoneman, Negrao, again, as I mentioned, and Grist as well, finding himself 7th.
Well, if Santi Urrutia is going to win the pole, it's going to have to be with the lap that he turned at a minute 52.95, because on this last lap, he went off course and has thus pulled that car back onto pit lane. So a minute 52.954 is as good as Santi Urrutia is going to do. So does anyone have anything for him here with 2 minutes to go? Jones is still out on the racetrack. Stoneman is still out there. So is Andre Negrao, Zach Veach. That's your top 5. Kyle Kaiser sits 6th. Felix Sorrells is 7th. The rookie Garrett Grist is 8th quick. Juan Pedrohita is 9th. Zachary Clayman DeMello, he's going to call it a session. He's 10th quick. Shelby Blackstock is 11th. James French is 12th. Neil Alberico 13th. Dalton Kellett 14th. And there it is. How about Zach Veach? Jake, in the final moments of qualifying with 90 seconds to go, he puts that Bilardi Auto Racing Mazda at the top of the charts.
I'll tell you, just as you called it, Nick, what did you say? We were waiting to see Zach Veach, and then boom, goes out. Brian Bilardi, as we talked about, this is essentially now their home track, and he puts himself in a position right there as the fastest thus far in this session. Quite a lap that he just turned in that number 5 machine.
Boy, in those top 3, Veach, Urrutia, Jones, all separated by 2/100ths of a second. That is about as close of a margin as you're going to see with just 50 seconds left. Everybody's going to get a chance to run one more lap if they're on the racetrack right now. Again, Urrutia and Zachary Clayman DeMello, the only 2 drivers that have ducked onto pit lane. So Urrutia will do no better than second. The only question now is, does anybody have anything for Zach Veach? One of the Bilardi Auto Racing cars making their way up the front straightaway. That is James French. One of the Carlin cars go really wide there in turn number 14. That is Felix Sorrells. That last lap by Sorrells not good enough to bump him up from 6th quick. So with just 15 seconds left, we will see if Zach Veach has enough to hold on. And Jake, we've had 6 different winners this season. Zach Veach is not one of them, so that's a good sign for the parity that may continue here as the checkered flag is out in qualifying.
And you've got to know that he's chomping at the bit for that to happen, Nick, because I think Zach Veach has felt like, as we've talked about with him, and he's been in the booth with us, that this was kind of his last step towards trying to get himself to that dream of being up into the Verizon IndyCar Series. And I think he felt like getting a few wins under his belt this year in the Indy Lights would be the final answer for him to be able to go to people and say, see, I'm ready. So perhaps this is it. Maybe it does happen here at Road America, but one thing at a time. You got to get through qualifying first. Veach finds himself right there where he wants to be. Urrutia, Jones, Negrao, and Stoneman behind him.
And we're starting to see a lot of the heavy hitters duck onto pit lane after seeing the checkered flag. Ed Jones has seen the checkered flag, so is Andre Negrao, Dean Stoneman, Felix Sorrells, really the last of the contenders that's going to try to take a shot. Nobody here in this last 30 to 60 seconds has been able to lay down a lap to improve their time. So right now it is Zach Veach who has ducked onto pit lane. Let's hear from the second place driver as everyone makes their way back to pit lane. That's Santi Urrutia, and he's standing by with Ryan Marine.
Santi Urrutia led much of the session, just got pipped right there at the end. I know you were standing watching the times come in and saw that your time got taken down. What was your reaction when you saw that you'll be starting P2 tomorrow?
Yeah, I know. But we lost the pole position. But anyway, it's good. I mean, it's good for the championship starting from row. Ed Jones championship lead is third, so we just need to make a good race tomorrow. It's gonna be close. Zach Beach was quick also today on the free practice, so that's it.
Apologize for the language there, but P2 still a pretty good place to start. Got a nice clear view of turn 1. You happy with that?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. I think I broke on the floor a little bit, that's why I stopped early. But anyway, yeah, I'm happy about the qualifying.
All right, thank you, Santi. Down pit road to Rob Howden.
Ryan, thank you so much. High fives, hugs, everything down here for Zach Veach. This is what you wanted to see happen from the very start of the season. Car was good, obviously, earlier today. Man, qualifying on the pole, congratulations. Give me your thoughts on that session.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, first off, I'm just so happy to be here and to be in a race car. And I mean, we had a fast practice and we made a pretty big change going into qualifying, and I just kept over driving it thinking that the grip was going to be there, and finally the last set of tires I managed to calm myself down and just drive to what the car gave me, and it gave me pole. So I really got to thank my Velarde Auto Racing guys. I mean, they've done a great job, and I got the joy of driving it. So gonna take this one in. We got a race to win tomorrow, of course, but I'll be up in the booth with Mark James before too long.
It's obviously only qualifying, but you can see Brian Belardi, Kent Boyer, your dad Roger, the relief of being able to put this car in the pole position. I think that means more to the team and to yourself than you're probably letting on.
No, for sure. I mean, after spending so much time in the old car, coming into this thing, it was a completely new learning curve, and I got a little disheartened at times just because, this car was so much harder to drive. So for us to learn completely how to drive this car and to be where we are right now, I'm very happy.
You think you learned a little bit of something in that particular session, like you said, letting the car come to you and actually driving to what the car was going to give you?
Yeah, most definitely. Sometimes I think the driver can make a bigger problem by pushing too hard than just being calm. So we calmed ourselves down and the car came to me, and, I'm just lucky to be here.
And congratulations on pole position for race 1.
Thank you so much.
There he is, folks. Zach Veach, very, very pleased with putting that Velarde number 5 on the pole. Ryan?
Ed Jones, P3 for Carlin Racing. It was really, really tight there at the top of the timesheets. Did the car have anything left in it?
Yeah, it was very tight. The last few races, qualifying's been so close. It's just down to those last few hundreds. The team did a great job. We in the first few runs we struggled a bit, but me and my engineer worked well together to produce a good car for the end. Maybe I could have got a little bit here and there, but you can always say that about a lap. But no, it's great to be starting up front again. Third for the first race and provisionally pole for the second. So yeah, it's good. We can't, it's been 5 poles in a row up to now, so it's a bit frustrating to lose that streak, but yeah, you can't have all of them, and we look forward to the race tomorrow.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to ask about, that 5-pole streak. Have you been a part of anything like that at any point in your career up until now?
Not to that extent, no. So yeah, it's been a really good run so far this season as well. We just need to carry that on. We need to be consistent. We can't win every race, but as long as we're there all the time, we're going to be in a good position for the last few rounds of the championship, and that's all you need to have a chance at the title.
And a pretty good place to start, all things considered, especially with points on your mind.
Yeah, I think, it's always easy to look at points, but as soon as you start thinking about that, you become a bit too defensive, and that's not the right mindset. So we still treating this weekend as just another one. We go out and attack and get as many points as possible, and look forward to everyone that comes up.
All right, thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.
Ed Jones, P3, guys.
Ed Jones will end up third, as Ryan talked about. Here's your full field rundown, how they will start tomorrow. The front row will have Zach Veach lead him to the green with Santi Urrutia to his outside. Row 2 will have Ed Jones to the inside, Andre Negrão to his outside. Row 3, Dean Stoneman will start 5th, Felix Sorales to his outside at 6th. Row 4 will see Kyle Kaiser and the rookie Garrett Grist with a really solid qualifying effort right there in the middle of the field. Row 5 will see Juan Pedrahita and Zachary Clayman DeMello. Row 6, Shelby Blackstock and the rookie James French. And then out back in the final row, Neil Alberico starting 13th and Dalton Kellen 14th. Jake, final thoughts. This big moment for Zach Veach. He's been knocking on the door looking for that first win, and no better way to get it than leading the field of the green tomorrow.
You could hear the relief in his voice. One of the things now that will be the challenge for him if he is starting up front, and that is strictly, and I don't know how physical this track is, but it's a long track, and it's a track where there are a lot of areas where you can just have that one mental hiccup. You don't want to make any mistakes if you're starting up front, and he's going to have somebody right there in his mirrors in the form of Urrutia, who we know is not afraid to be aggressive, Nick. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch when they go out there to this track.
The bright young stars of the Indy Light Series presented by Cooper Tires. They will see the green flag tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern, noon Central, noon local here in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Again, congratulations to Zach Veach. He'll lead him to the field as the pole sitter in the Indy Light Series presented by Cooper Tires.
This is the Verizon IndyCar Series on the Advance Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
A.J. Foyt down the main straightaway. The checkered flag is out. A.J.'s hand in the air. He is the winner. A.J. Foyt at Indianapolis has won his fourth 500-mile race. A.J. Foyt, our winner. The flag will fly now for Tom Sneva and then for Al Unser. We will be talking with all of these drivers in just a moment. Lou Palmer is in victory lane as A.J. Foyt takes now his victory lap around the 2.5 miles of Indianapolis. A record-breaking end to a record-breaking month. A.J. Foyt, the fourth win at Indianapolis. A month that saw the 200-mile-an-hour barrier broken, not just in the practice where it is unofficial, but in the qualifying by Tom Sneva, our second-place car at the moment. And then, too, the first woman to enter, to qualify, and to compete in a 500-mile race, Janet Guthrie of New York City. But for the moment, the name is A.J. Foyt of Houston, Texas. The car is his, a Coyote. The engine is his, a Foyt V8. And happiness, fame, and fortune are his, too. He is the winner of the 61st running of the Indianapolis 500. Pat Sedan continues to display the checkered flag to the 11 other cars running on the race course at the moment. They hand him now the red flag. He will use that in just minutes to stop the race, to bring the cars into the pits. The 500-mile race is complete. The checkered flag and the red flag are waved together. And the checkered flag was displayed first here for A.J. Foyt. He is now on the pit lane. The people are moving out to his car as he comes down through the pits. A very elated crew has begun to run toward victory lane to meet A.J. and to meet Lou Palmer. A.J. cruises through the pit area very, very slowly toward the new victory lane in the front of the master control tower here. Ever so slow he comes down. But A.J. Foyt no longer has need for the speed of that V8 Coyote engine. He is the winner here at Indianapolis. And now to interview the winner of this year's Indianapolis 500 here in victory lane is Lou Palmer.
And we await A.J. Foyt along with a host of others, including Tony Holman, who was cheering as loudly as the crowd. We've seen what has never been seen before, beginning with a woman driving in the field in the morning, and A.J. finishing 4 up front at Indianapolis. Headed into victory lane now, A.J. Foyt in the gleaming Gilmore 14 Coyote, the Gilmore Racing Team home, and he wins again.
It's race day, 1980. The place is the world's greatest race course, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This is the 64th running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. At this moment, hundreds of thousands of spectators file into this giant and ancient speedway. As the sun began to light the eastern sky early this Indiana morning, aerial bombs shattered the stillness of the dawn and signaled the opening of the gates. For over 5 hours now, the crowd has poured through those gates. Before the green flag falls, in just over 40 minutes, the crowd is expected to swell to well over 300,000. Each year, these fans make their pilgrimage to the center of Indiana. They come from around the world. They are joined in heritage only gained by almost 7 decades of history. Many of these fans wear the bright colors reflected by the cars driven by their favorites. The grandstands, stretching for miles, are a kaleidoscope of bright color. Their spirits are high. They're here to open a new decade of racing at Indianapolis. This day is bright and blue. The temperature is 74 degrees. The forecast is for clear and sunny weather. Seconds ago, you joined race fans around the world. At this moment, the sounds of Indianapolis beam out from transmitters across the United States. Shortwave transmitters and satellites fling our words across the oceans and around the globe. You join us in a singular experience. The world's largest radio network combines you, the race fan from afar, with those gathered here at the Speedway. I'm Paul Page, and I'm proud to serve you once again as the voice of the 500.
Less than half a lap ago. Grody Johncock by 5 car lengths over Rick Mears. They're in the north short chute. Here they come. This is the final quarter lap. Johncock maintains the lead. The voice of the 500, Paul Page. Who's going to win it?
Gordon Johncock off the fourth turn. Mears is right behind him. Johncock. Mears makes a try. Johncock wins it by less than 1/10 of a second.
All right, folks, standing here with Felix Sorrells right now to give us a lap around this beautiful racetrack.
Flag will fly now for checkered flag. Singular.
Let's hear from the second place driver as everyone makes their way back to pit lane.
On the free practice.
View of turn one. You happy with that?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Thank you, Scott.
Beach, yeah, this is what you wanted to see happen from the very start of the season. Car was good, obviously, earlier today. Man, qualifying on the pole, congratulations. Qualifying on the pole, congratulations. Qualifying on the pole, congratulations. Give me your thoughts on that session.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we made it qualifying, and I think I said it's dry. It got a race job, and going to take more, of course, with Mark James before too long.
It's obviously only qualifying, but you can.
After spinning something, I got us to learn.
You learned a little bit of
Definitely, too,
Pole position for race one at Velarde number 5, folks. Zach Veach, very, very pleased.
I'm just lucky to be here.
And congratulations on. Qualifying on the pole, congratulations.
Came to me, and you know.
This is the Verizon IndyCar Series on the Advance Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
A.J. Foyt down the main straightaway. The checkered flag is out. A.J.'s hand in the air. He is the winner. A.J. Foyt at Indianapolis has won his 4th 500-mile race. A.J. Foyt, our winner. The flag will fly now for Tom Sneva and then for Al Unser. We will be talking with all of these drivers in just a moment. Lou Palmer is in victory lane as A.J. Foyt takes now his victory lap around the 2.5 miles of Indianapolis. A record-breaking end to a record-breaking month. A.J. Foyt, the 4th win at Indianapolis. A month that saw the 200-mile-an-hour barrier broken, not just in the practice where it is unofficial, but in the qualifying by Tom Sneva, our second-place car at the moment. And then, too, the first woman to enter, to qualify, and to compete in a 500-mile race. Janet Guthrie of New York City.
Check.
The name is A.J. Foyt of Houston, Texas. The car is his, a Coyote. The engine is his, a Foyt V8. And happiness, fame, and fortune are his, too. He is the winner of the 61st running of the Indianapolis 500. Pat Sedan continues to display the checkered flag to the 11 other cars running on the race course at the moment. They hand him now the red flag. He will use that in just minutes to stop the race, to bring the cars into the pits. The 500-mile race is complete. The checkered flag and the red flag are waved together. And the checkered flag was displayed first here for A.J. Foyt. He is now on the pit lane. The people are moving out to his car as he comes down through the pits. A very elated crew has begun to run toward victory lane to meet A.J. and to meet Lou Palmer. A.J. cruises through the pit area very, very slowly toward the new victory lane in the front of the master control tower here. Ever so slow he comes down. But A.J. Foyt no longer has need for the speed of that V8 Coyote engine. He is the winner here at Indianapolis. And now to interview the winner of this year's Indianapolis 500 here in victory lane is Lou Palmer.
And we await A.J. Foyt along with a host of others, including Tony Holman, who was cheering as loudly as the crowd. We've seen what has never been seen before, beginning with a woman driving in the field in the morning and A.J. finishing 4 up front at Indianapolis. Headed into victory lane now, A.J. Foyt in the gleaming Gilmore 14 Coyote, the Gilmore Racing Team home, and he wins again.
From Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, this is the Verizon IndyCar Series on the Advance Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
Yeah, it's happening. Verizon IndyCar Series at Road America. Session number 2, in fact. Where have you been? 1 is under the belt. Hello, everyone. From Road America, this is Mark James. Welcome to the Advance Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network for the Firestone broadcast booth. Happy to bring with you, as we said, session number 2 in preparation for Sunday's race. A good cast of characters gathered to bring you all of the information for this practice session. I'm joined in the booth by Jake Query. Jake has spent some time on pit road today. Also happy to be joined on pit road by Dave First. Rob Houghton will be joining us momentarily. And okay, Jake, you've been here for a few hours now, as have we, for the first time. Had a chance to get on the golf cart, ride around a little bit, look at this picturesque facility. But, you know, it's been around for a while, no question, but yet it still has a modern feel to it. You can tell that they've done a good job of staying with the times here at Road America in terms of fan amenities.
It's a very clean course, if that makes sense.
Oh,
Not
sure.
just aesthetically speaking, but also just a track that has all kinds of different challenges for a driver. Passing zones, elevation changes, and in addition to that, left and right-handed turns, a long course, one that is going to require a lot of mental focus over the course of a nearly 2-minute lap. Now, Mark, one of the real storylines this morning that we've been keeping an eye on, and that is that of Joseph Newgarden. We've made plenty of it. He was injured in his race with Connor Daly at the Texas Motor Speedway. He suffered as a result of it injuries both to his shoulder, his clavicle most specifically, and his wrist. He was cleared medically, surprisingly somewhat, Mark, to drive for this particular weekend, and kudos to him and to the medical staff for that situation. But the deal was that he would go through the practice session this morning and then be evaluated by the Verizon IndyCar Series afterwards. He had said, and Ed Carpenter had told us, that it was the hand that bothered him more so than the shoulder. They have particular padding that comforts him throughout the G's and the left and the right hand turns of this track. Then they had an autograph session, and he did say that his hand was sore from the autograph session. J.R. Hildebrand, Mark, is here this weekend and is in the stable should Joseph Newgarden not be able to drive. But this is a story that we've been watching very closely over the course of the weekend.
And our day first talked to both, well, actually all three. He talked to Ed Carpenter, the team owner, talked to Joseph Newgarden, and talked to J.R. Hildebrand. Those conversations occurring during our Indy Lights shows this morning. And Dave, let's first of all talk about just Joseph Newgarden's mindset coming into this weekend. Clearly, less than 100 points back of the points leader, Simon Pagenaud, and that is what's driving this, the quest to stay in the battle for the points championship.
There's no doubt. I mean, he'll say the right things. Say, look, I want to beat Road America just like everybody else is this weekend. But let's face it, Joseph, for the first time in his career, is thinking championship, Verizon IndyCar Series championship. And he's not going to let some soreness in his shoulder or pain in his hand stop that momentum that he thinks he has for the championship. I talked to him as well a couple hours after that first practice session. He was going on and on. He still bemoans what happened at Texas, not just because of the accident, but because of how good the car was throughout the course of the weekend. I mean, he strongly feels still to this day that that was a car that should have ended up in victory lane at the Texas Motor Speedway, not on its side along the front stretch at that facility. So Joseph Newgarden, he's got a plate in his right shoulder. He's got 13 screws holding everything together on that collarbone. The physicians, Dr. Scheib here with the series, they say it's as strong now as it would be as if it was a regular collarbone like you and I have. There's no lack of strength there whatsoever. So they are not concerned that if he is involved in another accident here this weekend, that would somehow change that. There is no concern whatsoever that he could re-injure himself or make that situation worse. But Newgarden is concerned about the pain he's feeling in that right hand. He says it's way more substantial than he thought it was going to be. So if for some reason he decides that, hey, I can't handle this Sunday, and I firmly believe that's not the case. I think he's going to be in that car come race day. But if there is an issue, it's going to be the hand, not the shoulder. So good news is, though, here's the thing about Joseph. He'll smile through everything, and he was smiling through the pain this morning when they had that practice session, and he believes that he's got a shot at the Verizon IndyCar Series championship when the trophy was awarded at Sonoma.
Well, Dave, let's talk about your conversation with J.R. Hildebrand. It was announced shortly after the accident in Texas that J.R. would be the guy to fill that seat for as long as he was needed until Joseph was healthy. I don't think anyone, especially J.R. Hildebrand, thought that that would happen before they got here to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Your conversation with J.R. Hildebrand, I would sum it up this way. I think there are even more people now that if it doesn't happen this weekend, then in the not-too-distant future would really like to see this kid get a shot in a race car.
Well, and who's to say that Ed Carpenter, of course, who runs Ed Carpenter Racing, won't give him that shot at some point, perhaps towards the end of the season, perhaps at Sonoma Raceway. You know, JR grew up in Sausalito, not too far far away from that track, and it's a track that he loves. But, he hopes that Joseph Newgarden can go, but he's not all that upset if for some reason Newgarden can't go, because as he described this 4-mile race course, he goes, it's a badass race course, and he wants to be a part of this thing this weekend, as he was in the test session a week ago. And he is a former driver here as well, and he came up through the road to Indy and drove here at Road America. So J.R. Hildebrandt's here. He's out on the race course right now, helping call some of the action, if you will, from a spotter standpoint for both the 21 and the 20 machine for Spencer Piggott. He's still here in a working capacity, but instead of watching what's going on the road course, eventually, and don't blame him, eventually this weekend he wants to be inside the car too.
That good stuff this morning from Dave Thurston, talking with both J.R. Hildebrand and Joseph Newgarden. We also get the thoughts and impressions of the team owner and car. Well, not many takers early in this session, so holding true to form to the session earlier today. Rossi, Castro, Neves, Hawksworth, Munoz, Piggott, Pagano, and Sato, the takers. Pagano set quick time this morning with a time at 1:43.48.04. As we mentioned, Davey Hamilton is not with us this weekend, so we will have filling in for Davey. Zach Veach, we need to change the way we're talking about him, though, because now it's pole sitter. Zach Veach, welcome, young man. That's a nice ride you gave that thing.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, no, I'm still smiling from it. I guess I did just get out of the race car about 15 minutes ago, but yeah, I mean, we unloaded with a great car. Thank you to Blarty for that, and we made a pretty big change. Normally if you have a good car, you don't make a change going into qualifying, but I kind of had one idea that I would like to try that I think that would have helped us, and where we made that change when we started qualifying, I was just over driving it the entire time. So when I finally got my last set of tires, I thought, well, I'm just going to calm down, see what the car actually does instead of trying to tell it what it will do, and it rewarded me with the pole, so I'm very happy about that.
So tell us about this race course, the challenges that it presents.
Well, the biggest thing about Road America is just where it's so long. All the corners here are very high committing, so you're pushing right to the very ragged edge. So you're very close to making a mistake every time. And where the track is so long, the lap is very long as well. So if you make a mistake and you mess up one corner, it's going to take another minute and 40 seconds, minute and 44 seconds for you to get another chance to get that lap done. And with the sessions here, being short once we get to qualifying with the Fast 6, it's really going to come down to just putting together that perfect lap time when it is required.
Now, this is a question we ask you oftentimes. So where is the place where you need to be the fastest in order to put down a good lap on a regular basis?
For me, I think there's 3 places that you have to be really fast around here to get the lap time, and that's turn 1 and 3, because that's a really fast section of the track. 3 leads you onto the back straightaway, the mid straightaway, I should say, and that leads you into a really good passing zone once you get to turn 5. And then you have, I'm going to add another corner here, but you have the carousel as well. You have to be very good through there, and that's tough because the car's moving around a lot with that carousel. You're almost flat once you have new tires, but if the car does break away from you, you're going to be hitting something pretty hard. So there you got another long straightaway after, and then turn 14, because that leads you onto the front straightaway. So you really got to focus on your corner exits here.
Well, this morning, Nick and I, during the first practice session, we noticed that are there issues with the grip in turn 12? I mean, we saw the rear end of a lot of race cars dancing around that almost looked like a sprint car going through.
And I think the biggest thing to do with that is there's a really big bump on the entry of 12. And for me, I really didn't notice it until we lowered the front of my race car today, and then I was starting to lock up because I was really getting hard in that brake zone. And you hit that bump, and it really unloads the car. So I think that's one of the reasons you see guys moving around a lot here. And but that's a characteristic of this track. On the track walk, when we went around, you actually see grass growing through some of the cracks on the race surface. So it has a lot of character here.
So now you've raced here before. What, you were 13 when you raced in 2000?
I was 16, but yeah, I looked like I was 13.
Well, Alexander Rossi is P1, Elio Castroneves is P2, Pagano, Hawksworth, and Munoz. And Dave, first a condition report from you. Nothing but sunshine and blue skies. And we left for dinner last night shortly after we arrived. It's rare that we need a jacket when we head out at 6:30 or 7 o'clock in late June, but that's certainly the case in this beautiful part of America.
You know what, though? I'm not going to complain about grabbing a light jacket this time of year. It was actually pretty lovely last night. And well, you look up, nothing but blue skies and sunshine here at Road America. Air temperature just at 79 degrees. Track temperature just within the last 30 minutes has shot up to 113 degrees, the highest it's been all day long. Humidity, though, way down, just 45%. So the conditions, I think, are pretty ripe here in this practice session for the Verizon IndyCar Series.
Exactly, straightaways long enough to draft it all?
Oh, for sure. I mean, this is like going to a super speedway for road courses with us. And I think that's why the race is going to be really exciting, not only for Indy Lights, but IndyCar once we get push to pass. Because you're going to have the draft helping you suck up on the car in front of you, but put push to pass on top of that, and you're going to be coming up on the car in front of you with about a 10-mile-an-hour difference.
Just heard Dave first mention the track conditions here, Zach, and the reality is a lot of places we go, it's like there are 4 different climates in the span of one day. That hasn't been the case here today. It's been sunny and beautiful all day today. But did the track change at all between this morning and now, either because of the temperature or the different rubber compounds?
I think for us, especially in Indy Lights, and with the characteristics of our Cooper tires, is once this track surface gets hot, the car frees up, so it starts sliding around a lot. And I believe it's the same for these guys with their Firestones. And the thing about Road America that you kind of have to look at a track map to understand, but there's a lot of these really dark black patches in the entry to exit of some of the 90-degree corners here. So we got to think, in some corners it's a really light gray asphalt. Then you go to this, dark black stuff. It attracts, a lot more heat because, the sun pounds down on that, and that's going to be a different track surface temperature than other parts. So you got to really understand, how that's going to change the race car, because you'll hit certain parts and it'll be completely different just because it's, 20, 30 degrees different track temp.
What effect does the elevation changes have on the race car, especially the longer you go as fuel burns off and tire wear and things of that nature?
I think the biggest place that you feel is turn 6. You have the turn 5, which is the big braking zone left-hander before it. Then you're firing out of there and you're going uphill and you're actually braking at the top of the crest. So that's the one place you really feel the car move around, and you got to be careful because if you try to brake and turn right on top of that crest, you'll spin out. So that's the difficult part. But I learned something interesting yesterday. James Hinchcliffe and a couple of the other Indy Lights guys and I did a school visit, and we actually got to speak with a guy that actually helped construct this place back in the day, and he was saying that all the layout of the track, no earth was moved as far as any place but the carousel.
Wow.
So the natural terrain, the ups and downs, was all here when they were working on building the track originally.
That's one of the things I mentioned today. Is just we were driving around the access points here. I mean, it's quite a masterful skill, I think, to have that vision and lay this all out and doing so in a way that makes sense. And it's a massive facility, but yet it's really easy, especially for the fans, to get around and enjoy it.
And the thing I love most about here, for people that are listening, it's kind of like if you've been on a roller coaster and you're coming to that top of the crest, and right before the ride starts and you drop down, there's that moment where you don't know what's happening next over top of the hill. And there's a lot of corners that are like this. There's really fast blind corners like turn 13, for instance. You turn in, you can't see where the exit is. You just got to hope that the car is going to be where it needs to be once you get to the top of the crest. So even for us, we get that feeling in our stomach that we're really pushing it, and there's a little bit of that risk factor that makes it exciting.
Zach Veach, dual roles this weekend, as is often the case, the pole sitter for tomorrow's Indy Lights race number 1, also serving as our driver analyst this weekend. And Zach, earlier today, Nick Yeoman and I, we're doing a recap of your season. And it obviously it started off with a bang at St. Petersburg, had the field covered. It's kind of been a mix of a bobble here and there, but by and large things totally and completely out of your control. I know you want to race, but with the layoff of almost a month, has it given you an opportunity to not only recharge the batteries physically, but more so mentally, and get ready for this run now in the second half of the season?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, you have more time to think, and you recover that way. And in the past week or so for me has been a little difficult, just working through some things, getting things ready for this weekend. And I'm happy to be back in a race car because if you ever have something going on outside of it, this gives you a chance to block it all out and focus on what you really need to. So for me, it was good to have that time to kind of develop myself and think over the off time that we had. But honestly, I got to give a lot of credit. We had a test at Mid-Ohio a few weeks ago, and we just went there, and everything kind of clicked for me, and I really started to make sense of this race car, and that made a difference here today. I think up to this point, I've been learning every weekend. It's hard to say your third year in Indy Lights, you're still learning, but with it being a completely different car, this thing has been a whole science fair trying to figure out what it takes to drive this thing and to drive it well. So I'm really happy we're finally getting to the point where it's starting to reward me back.
I remember the first time I asked you to compare the previous car that you drove to this one, and as you started your answer, your eyes widened, which is a clear indication that they're miles apart, aren't they?
Oh, for sure. And, at first, just being the old soul that I am, I would tell you right away that I miss the old car. But now that I've really got to peel back the layers of this new Indy Lights car and see the character that's underneath, I really like this car because it's so much more challenging than the old Indy Lights car. And I think it's going to be just like the Indy car. So we just got to, learn as much as we can in lights, and hopefully that'll make us best prepared to go to IndyCar.
You've got some race planning to do. We're going to let you go do that. So
okay, thank you, Mark.
Thanks for taking the time. We know the news conference was a couple of doors down. We appreciate you popping in here. Go win a road. We'll talk to you in Victory Lane tomorrow. How's that sound?
I would like that, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too. That's Zach Beach, of course, serving as our driver analyst at Bowl Center for tomorrow's Indy Lights race number 1. Let's go to pit road. Welcome in Rob Howden.
Mark standing down here right now with Brian Hurd. He's looking back at the team a little bit here, looking up at the timing. Alex Rossi, quickest here to start the session off. This is a kid I think that we're realizing can learn pretty quickly. What are your thoughts on the way Alex is kind of dialing things in here today?
Yeah, this is one of the tracks that we've been to that he's run before, so that's a big advantage.
That doesn't happen a lot, obviously, with him. Actually, guys, we're going to have to take off here because Rossi's going to head back out. He's currently P1. They've made some adjustments, guys. Brian asking me to see if we can't take a little bit of a second because they're going to send Alex back out on track.
Rossi is P1. Connor Daly, second. Quick. Elio Castroneves, P3. Pagano, Hawksworth, the top 5. Montoya, Munoz, Rahal, Hinchcliffe, Joseph Newgarden as preparations continue for Sunday's Kohler Grand Prix here at Road America.
The best drivers on earth aren't going to push the limits of man and machine riding on just any old piece of rubber. Which is why Firestone is the tire of the Verizon IndyCar Series. So when it's time to celebrate the 100th running of the Indy 500, no one knows more about celebrating than the tire that has more Indy wins than anyone else. Because at Firestone, we don't just make tires. We make champions. Whatever you drive a Firestone.
Planes racing by your seat at 265 miles per hour. Pilots withstanding up to 10 G's of force right in front of you. Experience the thrill from closer than ever before. Red Bull Air Race World Championship. Witness the world's ultimate motorsport series at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, October 1st and 2nd. Tickets now on sale. More info at redbullairrace.com.
From the Firestone broadcast booth at Road America, this is the Verizon IndyCar Series.
Practice session number 2 for the Verizon IndyCar Series. Alexander Rossi, Connor Daly, Elio Castroneves, Simon Pagano, and Jack Hawksworth, the top 5. Let's go back to pit road and check in with Dave first.
And that's the sound of Spencer Piggott, a pit stall down as he launched out of his pit stall, getting ready to go back to practice here as this practice session rolls on here on this Friday. An opportunity to catch up with Dario Franchitti, world traveler. Last weekend he was at Le Mans celebrating a championship for Chip Ganassi Racing. Now you're back in the States?
Yeah, I didn't actually do much at Le Mans. I was kind of there just...
What did you do in Le Mans? Do you care to explain?
I had a good time.
That's good.
Had a couple of beers. I just went out there to watch my little brother and obviously the Ford team, and I'd support the Chip Ganassi team, and it was wasn't a great weekend for my brother, but for the the guys, it was fantastic to win their first time. Chip was a happy man.
If Chip's happy, then everyone's happy, right?
That's the way it works.
All right, tell me about being back at Road America. Unfortunately, you're not in a car, but you've got some awfully fond memories of this place, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I was sitting looking over there earlier where Victory Lane used to be. I won my first race here back in '98, which is 18 years ago. We had a hell of a party that night. My buddy Greg Moore took me out. He always promised me when I won my first race we'd have a party, and we definitely did. And had some good friends over from Germany. But that was great fun, and anytime that you can come here and race is just fantastic. It's such a wonderful track, and the fans have definitely come out in big numbers to support it, even on Friday.
Two things. A, that's what friends are for. When you win your first title, you got to knock something like that out and have a good time the following night. Secondly, I mean, countless wins after that, 3 Indy 500s as well. But when you come back here, it's still a special moment, I'm sure, a special place.
Yeah, absolutely. Just remembering that first win, there was all those, came close so many times, and to finally get it here, and it's such a special track too. On the other side, I led one of my first races here the year before in Carl Hogan's car and crashed while leading. How
did that go over?
Under caution.
And so how did that go over?
Yeah, Carl wasn't terribly happy with me, I must admit. But it was one of those deals when you're down the back there, you can never hear the radios very well. I didn't know it was under yellow, and I was pushing like hell. I knew it was under yellow as soon as I stopped, though, because I crashed right next to Marshall's post.
Double yellows out.
Yeah, that wasn't ideal. So I definitely learned a lesson from that one. But it is so special to come back here and remember all those fun memories that doing the track record and everything in 2000. And it's epic. I did threaten to kick Charlie out of the car here earlier, lock him in the bathroom or something, and take it for a spin.
You are doing some coaching once again for Max Chilton and Charlie Kimball, and for that matter, Tony Kanaan and Scott Dixon a bit as well. What is the secret to 4 miles around this Road America road course?
It's about flowing the momentum as much as you can, knowing where to push. Because this place is funny, there's certain corners you think you can push at, and you push a bit harder and you actually lose time. So it's knowing what areas of the track to push. And it's one of these tracks I always drove it with a smile on my face, because it was just so much bloody fun. No chicanes, none of that stuff. Just epic to drive. It's
old school, is it not?
It is old school, but I tell you what, walking around yesterday on the track, they've spent a lot of money on the place too. It looks great. It's the fencing, the runoffs, really, really cool. Great to see that they've continued to work so hard at this facilities.
Last thing, curious as to what other road courses like this you would like to see the Verizon IndyCar Series perhaps try out once again.
I'd love to see us go back to the Pacific Northwest.
Portland.
Yeah, Portland would be great. I'd love to see a street course again in Vancouver. I'd like to see us go back to Montreal. That was such a fun one, but we're getting to go back to the Glen.
This year.
That's brilliant. That to me is a win-win. Yeah, I'll take the Boston thing. It didn't look like the city was that keen to have us anyway, and that sucks. Let's go back to the Glen, somewhere where we've got a lot of history and we're putting a great show. Although Dixon said the other day, he tested on Monday, and even he said it was bloody quick. So God help the rest of them.
Hey, enjoy the weekend. Welcome back to Road America, and keep smiling, okay?
Thanks, man.
Dario Franchitti, he won here back in 1998, and hoping one of his guys, one of his 4, can find victory lane here this weekend.
Jake, they don't get much classier, much more of a sportsman and a champion than Dario Franchitti, and just absolutely thrilled that after he stepped away from the cockpit that he's so visible and continues to be involved in the sport. He's someone that's badly needed in open wheel racing.
I think the thing that would be difficult, and where Dario Franchitti gets a lot of credit and some kudos here, Mark, is the fact that to be a race car driver or an athlete in any way, but in particular a race car driver, you've got to have a serious competitive drive and competitive streak. And when suddenly that goes away and partially is taken from you. Let's be honest, the accident in Houston is what accelerated the retirement of Dario Franchitti. Although Franchitti was approaching the age of retirement for a race car driver, he still obviously was extremely competitive, if not, the best within the series. But once that accident happened and he knew that it was time to walk away, a lot of guys, it would be difficult to come back to the racetrack and be around on a regular basis. And I always, Mark, have found it really interesting to see for people that are the best at their sport for the time in which they're participating. It can be difficult to then coach others because you automatically assume that others find an instinct that you have, and what you deem to be something that doesn't need to be coached may be something that needs to be pointed out to somebody else because they don't have the natural ability that you did. And in Frankitti's case, I think that he is able to talk out and voice out and illustrate through what it was that made him very good. Charlie Kimball, when you look at his results over the last few years, Kimball himself has elevated with each year that he's been in the series, and Max Chilton, of course, is hoping to do the same.
Ryan Hunter Ray now P1, 143.8425. By the way, 143.4804. The quick time earlier today set by Simon Pagino. Alex Rossi, P2, Takuma Sato, Gabby Chavez, Connor Daly, the top five. Couple of names there, most notably of late, Gabby Chavez, and even Connor Daly, I suppose. Familiarity with those of you that follow the Mazda Road to Indy. And Rob Howden, we mentioned Indy Lights. We had the pole sitter, our driver analyst, Zach Veach, in the booth with us. Update us now on where we stand with the other rungs to the ladder in the Mazda Road to Indy series.
You know, Mark, this is one of those great events when the fans are able to see the entire Mazda Road to Indy, the future stars of the Verizon IndyCar series. And as you said, Zach Veach already with a very, very exciting pole position there on Indy Lights. We did qualifying for USF 2000 and Pro Mazda today already. The USF 2000 series, the very first rung of the Mazda Road to Indy, was won. Like the pole position was won by Anthony Martin, the young Australian driver coming off a big victory at Lucas Oil Raceway, part of the Carb Night Classic, the Friday before the Indianapolis 500. Obviously some confidence and momentum for Anthony in the Cape Motorsports with Wayne Taylor Racing Team. He was actually able to grab that pole position once again, so he's looking to try to see if he can't get into the championship lead of his teammate Parker Thompson, who timed in third quick. So some good racing expected in USF 2000. This track really kind of plays itself to 2-liter racing. We've talked about J.R. Hildebrand winning here before in 2-liter racing. So many guys, Zach Veach, you name it, have come up through the 2 liters and had a chance to run here at Road America. In the Pro Mazda category, if anybody who's been watching it has been watching this Pato Award show. He's won 6 of 7 races this year. He's trying to go to tie Matt Brabham's record of 7 wins in the first 8 races, but he did not show it in qualifying. Actually, Pato in the Team Pelfrey car back in the 5th position. It was his teammate and local driver, the Wisconsin native Aaron Telitz, able to grab the pole position. Obviously a very big thing for him to win here. Aaron actually got his start in karting. He actually ran the big course here, the full 4-mile road course in a kart, 100 miles an hour in a kart here. Then he goes to Skip Barber, National, runs here at Road America. He's just following the whole circuit here as he's now in Pro Mazda. And actually, Mark, he was the fastest driver here today. In fact, fastest of all 3 sessions. Telitz obviously looking to grab his 2nd win of the year. He won at St. Petersburg, but a victory here I think would really kind of stop the bleeding because, as you know, Pato Award has just been the guy winning everything since we left St. Petersburg.
Rob, we talked about it during the light sessions. We've got the 41 car of Jack Hawksworth taking the long way around, a bit of an off fare for the 41 machine. Don't think it's going to bring out a caution as he's still underway. But Rob, let's talk a little bit about that schedule for the Indy Lights. They had about a month layoff, but now all of a sudden in the month of July, there will be 6 opportunities to score points in a very, very tight points race.
Well, it's funny you say that because I was talking to Poppy from Andretti Autosport when they were doing their installation laps in our first session of the day, and everyone was coming in. I just confirmed installation lap. He said, yeah. He said, we had these cards torn all the way down after the Freedom 100. He knows that we go on that stretch that you've talked about. We run here at Road America. We get a week off. We go to Iowa. Of course, that 7/8 of a mile speedway, so exciting for the Indy Lights cars. Then, of course, we go to Toronto, we go to the street circuit, then 2 weeks later we go to mid-Ohio. It's really the stretch drive run here for the drivers in Indy Lights because then we have another gap before we go to Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca the first weekend in September to crown our champion. This really is the meat of the order right now. It's time to get busy, time to get to it, and with Zach Veach, as we said, on the pole position, we could see yet another race winner. We've had unbelievable consistency and it's unexpectability, I guess you'd want to say, in Indy Lights. We never know who's going to win anytime we roll to the the racetrack.
Jake, let's talk about it from the Verizon IndyCar Series perspective. A week off next week for the holiday, and then the opportunity to rack up points really amps up in July. You go to Iowa on the 10th. You've got Toronto on the 17th, and you go to Mid-Ohio on the 31st. And the schedule looks like it's got a big gap in it in the month of August. First couple of weeks you're off. But you go the 21st to Pocono, then now you back that up by the weekend of the 27th, going to finish the race at Texas. So certainly July and then August, make or break time in the battle for this points championship. Question is, can anyone else win it, or would Simon Pagenaud with an 80-point lead at this point simply have to lose it?
I think you have to look at the consistency of Simon Pagenaud and that team and consider that he is absolutely the front runner. But then again, let's be honest, how many years have we seen where the guy who we thought was a slam dunk in mid-June didn't end up winning, and someone like Scott Dixon, who just is hanging around, is able to do so like he did a year ago and get it, in the end. So you can't say anything is a guarantee, but right now Pagenaud certainly has been impressive this year and appears to be the car to beat. Mark, interesting to note that, as you mentioned, the next three races, oval, then you go to a street course, then a road course. And the way the schedule has panned itself out now, with the fact that you have Texas, as you talked about, and then the Watkins Glen edition, we will end with oval, road course. So what do we talk about with this series? The overall versatility that is necessary in terms of multiple driving disciplines. There are a lot of drivers you see who are really comfortable on ovals and still trying to figure things out on a road or street course. Others might be road or street course specialists and just finding things out about ovals. I think Pagenaud was one that would tell you that when he first came here, the ovals were intimidating to him a little bit, and he finally found his way through. A guy like Takuma Sato, who came within one lap of winning the Indianapolis 500, but he came in as a road and street course specialist. We just saw him here get a little bit of dust in the air at Road America trying to navigate on this particular track. So at all times, Mark, there is always something looming that even the most comfortable in whichever discipline it is, a challenge is presented to itself, and virtually every driver at some point over the course of the year has that ultimate challenge presented in front of them.
Turn 3 proving to be a bit troublesome. We just saw another play of Sato's venture across the curbing, and all four wheels, I think, got off the ground at one point, and he bounced across that curbing a couple of times. That was a trouble spot a moment ago for his teammate Jack Hawksworth, and we also saw Connor Daly take the long way through that portion of the race course. We are, let's see, about 33 minutes into this session, the second one of the day, an hour and 15 minutes in length. Ryan Hunter-Reay is P1, Alexander Rossi is P2, Takuma Sato, Gabby Chavez, Connor Daly, your top 5. Now we see Sebastian Bourdais is quickening his pace. He is third quick. Castro Neves, Kenan Chilton, Simon Pagenaud, the top 10. Rob Howden.
Yeah, Mark, you look further back in the order, and some of these guys starting to get a little more aggressive with the adjustments they're making to the cars. The rear shocks and the springs came off the car of Graham Rahal at number 15, Gel Machine, before he went back out onto the racetrack. Obviously able to find a little bit more speed, but he's back in once again. But some major adjustments there as they put a different spring on the car. Same thing as well up here for the Snapple, number 27 for Marco Andretti. They've got the rear shocks off of that car too. They're putting new springs on it and making the adjustments. So guys a little further back in the pack now, taking a big swing here in this practice session to see if they can't get those cars dialed in a little more and work their way into the top 10. Dave first?
Yeah, Rob, but I'm not even sure it's the guys in the back of the pack. I'm sitting here hanging out in the pit for Ryan Hunter-Reay, who is P1, and they too took off the rear cowling and made some spring and some damper adjustments as well. So even the 28 guys, P1, they're quickest. You think, well, they ought to feel pretty good about things. Nah, not the case. They're going to still push it and see if they can go even faster.
We look at the history of this facility and some of the names that have found victory lane here. Most wins, Mario Andretti, who picked up wins in 86, 84, and 87. Emerson Fittipaldi in 86, 88, and 92. Michael Andretti, a three-time winner here, back-to-back in 90 and 91. Also won in 96. Danny Sullivan was the pole winner here 4 times. And again, some of the names, Alex Zanardi, heard Dario Franchitti's conversation with Dave First a few moments ago. Bruno Junqueira won here a couple of times. The last winner here, A.J. Allmendinger in Champ Car in 2006. We mentioned Michael, Mario, Emo, Danny Sullivan, a winner here in addition to being a pole sitter. So Jake for sure. Admittedly, it's not a lengthy history, but a history nonetheless, and a storied one. And I don't know, other than maybe the Watkins Glen replacement of Boston and maybe Phoenix. It's interesting to note, as we said earlier, this season is being celebrated for many, many reasons by drivers and fans, not just, as we said, because of the 120, but I think because of returns to Road America, Phoenix, and Watkins Glen.
I remember as a kid growing up in the Indianapolis area back when the clay courts were on the ATP Tennis Tour, and each year one of the real, if you will, badges of honor for Indianapolis was that the tennis players would rank Indianapolis as their favorite spot along the way. And when you think about, of course, the great venues, the U.S. Open, Wimbledon, the places that they went, you thought, Indianapolis, really? But they said it was because of the proximity. They liked the court itself. They liked the list of volunteers. I think when you look at racing venues, Mark, I don't know that I have seen a track that has been, obviously it goes without saying, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway because of its heritage and its history, but just in terms of an overall track that drivers most enjoy driving and love going to for a weekend, this is one that I heard more drivers put on their wish list in the years when we weren't coming, probably, than any other track. There was a lot of talk, about getting back to Watkins Glen, for example. I know drivers enjoy racing at Sonoma. They love the history and the crowd at Toronto. But this is one that Dario Franchitti is one of the first that comes to mind, that each and every time seemingly they were asked about tracks they missed or what their favorites were, Road America always seemed to be mentioned. And then you come here and you see why, because not only is it a beautiful area, but it really is a course that looks like it would be, the best way I can describe it is it looks like it would be riding a roller coaster, except for that you're driving a race car. It just looks like it has a lot of different areas that would be a thrill to be in a car going.
Yeah, that's the same comparison that the Zach Veach made. And again, this morning at the hotel, talking to some guys from Sebastian Bourdais' crew, perhaps nowhere else will you find almost two distinctly different racetracks in terms of one portion features bad, fast straightaways and high-speed corners, and yet there's a totally different section of the racetrack that is so very, very technical. And I think that's where the challenge comes in, which leads to the enjoyment. But it's also, I think enjoyable for the engineers and the guys that are charged with communicating with his drivers to set these cars up in an effort to find the balance.
Well, it's fun to watch. I mean, that's the reality, is it's fun to watch. Watching the cars go up the hill, watching the cars go around to the right-hand side during an elevation change, and then having to suddenly turn their way back towards the left. It's not unlike at Sonoma, where they have the area that is just one large spiral downward. Watching these cars do it, knowing the challenge that it creates, is certainly entertaining. And when you look at it and you look at the drivers that have come here, and the drivers that, even if they haven't been here in an IndyCar, are familiar with the layout of the track, seemingly there's an advantage there. Alexander Rossi comes to mind, who told us earlier today in Formula BMW and in Skip Barber, it gave him a layout in his mind of what to expect, where the track would be turning and where the areas are that he could find speed. Rossi right now finds himself third fastest. You can see the speed charts. Ryan Hunter-Reay is second, and the fastest, the rookie Max Chilton, who works his way here around Road America at 143.8310.
How's that for interesting at the top in timing and scoring? A couple of rookies, Chilton and Rossi. I thought it was interesting earlier when we talked to Alexander Rossi, and we said, hey, does being familiar, having raced here before, and it's interesting, the answer started out was like, they're totally completely different cars, and nothing like these cars. But by the time the conversation was over, it was it's a huge benefit to at least know the layout of the racetrack.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, it's a matter of, it's like anything else. When you are going somewhere where you've been before, you just kind of know where it is that you've got to anticipate what the next move is going to be, so to speak. I always get curious, Mark, when I ask drivers if they've never been to a track, how many laps it takes before it becomes kind of instinctive and they're just on an autopilot. And, some of them will say, hey, look, there are some tracks that I'm never able to get a handle on it. Others will say, well, it takes, a lap or two before I all of a sudden have a handle on it. Then you have other drivers that will tell you that just doing simulators allows to give them some opportunity to know what to expect. Out on the racetrack right now, your Simon Pagino's out there. I believe that is Carlos Munoz with him. They're starting to get a little separation, but it got a little bit dicey there for a split second between those two.
Yeah, Carlos Munoz is good. We talked about it in that first session, Jake. I mean, had another spectacular month of May at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and Munoz is poised to be in contention for a win, given the conditions in which he raced under a couple of weeks ago at Texas. Well, I tell you what, if they can put anything under him like they had under him at Texas when we get back there in late August, this kid can make a strong bid to get to victory lane at Texas Motor Speedway.
Munoz is interesting. I was talking to my dad. We were talking about the Indy 500, and he said, man, I'll tell you what, the end of the Indianapolis 500, I don't know how close you got to Carlos Munoz after the race, Jake, but he looked like a guy that was completely distraught over not winning that. And Mark, I liked seeing it because it showed that for a kid that grew up in Colombia to come and his really a guy that he looked up to in the form of Roberto Guerrero, and I know that he was also a fan of Juan Montoya, but Munoz has gotten it as he's come here and he has been around the series now for a while. I think he has figured out and has the passion for it that fans have for it in terms of what races just have that little special something about it. And then you combine that with the fact that he clearly is a talented guy in Carlos Munoz. Now, on this particular circuit here today, not very fast so far in this session, but keep in mind he's also only turned 9 laps at this point. That's right around where most have. Hawksworth, Piggott, as you can see, 10 laps each. Graham Rahal now on his 10th lap goes the fastest. So perhaps they're still tinkering around and trying to find the right setup for Carlos Munoz.
Yeah, it's all, as you suggest, it's always interesting to get the I guess, mindset when you come so very close. And some folks may be of the opinion, well, wait a minute, you finished runner-up at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I think what it boils down to is that the level of maturity, as Graham Rahal goes P1, I think what it boils down to is the fact that that level of maturity is kicked in for Carlos Munoz. When you know you have a chance to win something that big, in the back of your mind, you wonder if you'll ever have that chance again. But now the one thing I did find interesting, he said, maybe not this year, but some year, one of these years, I'm going to win the Indianapolis 500.
I think he was saying what a lot of people were thinking. I think there are a lot of people. The thing about Indianapolis that is so unique to me, Mark, is it is a track where some of the all-time greatest were never able to conquer it, and also a track where some who might not have been the greatest elsewhere were able to constantly do well there or figured it out seemingly from the beginning. I'm not saying Munoz is not a talented guy, but Carlos Munoz, seemingly from the time that he first did a lap at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, has just looked like a duck to water at the place. And eventually, one would assume that he is going to win there. But at the same time, let us not forget, eventually one was assuming that Joe Leonard or that Lloyd Ruby or that Michael Andretti or that Roberto Guerrero would win there as well. It's a funny place.
To some, very. To others, not so much.
Not so much at all.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, the guy who won the 100th Indianapolis 500, Alexander Rossi, just went out and got a little bit loose. That 98 machine almost got away from him, but he was able to collect it back in and keep it out on the track here at Road America.
Mark Janes, Jake Query, Rob Howden, and Dave First on pit road. Let's check in with them for some observations. Rob Howden, when cars come to pit road, they getting a hefty look-see, adjustments, tires. What are we getting accomplished during visits to the pit box?
Yeah, well, I think that Dave and I kind of detailed it earlier on, and it's kind of continuing now as well. A lot of adjustments being made to the cars. Every time they come in, we're seeing at least one of the cowls come off. Front cowl, rear cowl. I was just up having a look at Will Power. They had the front of that car off as well. Elio Castro Neves, they have the front cowl of that car off, making a spring adjustment as well. These guys are really going to work here. As Dave said before, standing here now with Ryan Hunter-Reay, they brought him, I believe, just to fuel up the car right now. He's P3, so the adjustment that they made for the number 28 DHL machine, obviously to his liking, because they're not making any adjustments right now, just putting fuel in that car before he heads back out.
Dave, first, let's check in with you. Pit boxes that you've been patrolling. One thing's for sure, it appears as though that this session is much less frustrating for the 15 machine of Graham Rahal. His day did not get off to a very good start.
No, they had some big electrical issues that cost him, I would say, the first 40 minutes of this practice session earlier this morning, which also cost him another set of tires, an extra set, if you will. This is what they call a promoter day, and in that first session, if any of these teams can turn at least 5 laps in the first 20 minutes, then IndyCar awards them, if you will, another set of primary black tires for the weekend. And that's a key moment really through the course of the weekend, because obviously these teams would love to have as many sets of tires as they can. So you burned 40 minutes because of an ECU issue, and that extra set of tires went out the window. But still, Graham Rahal doing much better, and I'm sure much more at ease about things right now as he's P1. I'm in the pit right now next door to Graham's with Marco Andretti, who is towards the back once again, and he was towards the back in the first practice session as well, but fought his way through towards the end, put on a set of sticker blacks, and ended up 6th quick in the session. So we'll see, and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to Michael Andretti. Michael, of course, is a 3-time champion himself here at Road America. I want to get his thoughts and impressions about coming back to this race course. He won 3 times. His dad, Mario, won 3 times, all for Newman Haas Racing, who won 10 times at this facility. So you talk about guys that have some fond memories of this 4-mile layout at beautiful Road America. It's definitely the Andretti family. Marco Andretti, now that he's a part of the Verizon IndyCar Series and a part of racing here on this road course at Road America, he wants to join his dad and grandfather as well. Back to Rob.
Yeah, guys, talking about Alexander Rossi, trying to continue what I was trying to say when we were chatting with Brian Herta, but of course, Alexander was trying to get out on track, currently P4. He's brought the number 98 back in here, and I actually had a chance to talk to his father, Peter, and we chatted a little bit about the fact that this, as Brian said, is one of the only tracks that will run this year that Alex has any kind of experience on whatsoever. But funny, not even just a little bit of experience, he's run here a ton. When he first started into cars, he was a 13-year-old driver in the Skip Barber National Series. He won in Skip Barber. He ran here in the Formula BMW USA event. He won here in that as well. And Peter said that Alex just comes in here with a lot of confidence. And I think that's one of the things. He had confidence in himself, but I don't think he had confidence in how he was going to actually attack every racetrack, not knowing it. When he comes here to Road America, he really likes this facility. He knows he can win here. He's won here before. And I think you're seeing that and how much of a difference that is, as he is very strong here right now, currently into the top 5. Dave, first?
Yeah, I talked about Marco Andretti in that first practice session, slapping on a set of sticker blacks. Guess what? That's exactly what they've done now with this, let's call it the remaining 28 minutes in this practice session here. So as they make a couple of adjustments towards the rear of that United Fiber and Data Honda, they do have sticker blacks back on the number 27. So we'll see here momentarily just what Marco can do inside that cockpit.
Jake, let's go back as we look at Tony Kanaan, who's gotten off course, and looks like he's able to keep the car under power, and fortunately he's not in a sand trap. He's going to get back on the course and get it back underway, so we'll get it off by the 10 of Tony Kanaan. Questions surrounded Alexander Rossi almost as soon as the twin checkers flew as to what his future would be. Would he continue to focus on his efforts getting back to Formula One? As we kind of recap the accident of Tony Kanaan, he did get through the gravel trap but got to the grassy area, and lucky for him, he's able to continue. But it really, in terms of handling everything that comes with the spoils of being an Indy 500 champion, I think you got to give Alexander Rossi a lot of credit. I mean, he has embraced it and enjoyed it for all that it's worth, I think.
I think, Mark, that he didn't fully grasp everything that had happened because it was so surreal in the way that it did. And for those of us that watched him win, you thought to yourself, does he fully understand what's going on? And Dave, let's be honest, I think everybody from the top down, from Michael Andretti to Brian Herta to Alexander Rossi, didn't necessarily come to grips until perhaps the milk was drank, right?
It was such an odd ending, wasn't it? Literally running on fumes at the end. You look up at the scoreboard at the end of the day and you see Alexander Rossi winning the Indy 500. Back to what's going on, though, this weekend, an opportunity to catch up with Michael Andretti, who is obviously calling the shots for his son, Marco. What kind of feedback is Marco giving you so far this weekend here?
It's going okay. We haven't put new tires on yet, so we'll be going out now. Hopefully we're going to move up the board a bit, but he's so-so. It's not exactly where he wants it yet, but we're getting close.
What's he chasing the most right now?
A little bit of a balance problem that we're working on, yeah.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about history here at Road America. You've got a pretty decent history here, a 3-time winner. I bet you enjoy coming back here, don't you?
I always did as a driver and as a racer. I just love this place. It's a driver's track. It's beautiful. It's fun. Always a highlight of the year.
What is it about this place? I mean, everybody, right when you walk through the paddock area, everybody's smiling. Sometimes that doesn't happen in the Verizon IndyCar Series weekend.
That's true, but like I said, there's something about this place. As a driver, it's just a lot of fun to drive, and as a spectator, it's a great place to come as well because you can go all over the track and see different parts of it. It's just this is what a racetrack should be.
Obviously, you enjoyed it here. Your dad enjoyed it here. Are there guys that just have it figured out from the get-go?
I don't know. I don't know how to answer that because, there's some places where I've always thought I'd figure it out, but I never won at as well. Indianapolis is one, so I don't know what it is. It's just for whatever reason, I've been able to have good races here, and I had myself in position to win a few. So, it's just I can't say it's that I know anything different on here, this track, than I do any other.
Let me ask you this, and not to use the term in your day, but pardon the phrase, but who was the king of Road America when you were driving?
Oh, I don't know. I think Al Jr. was always tough here. So he was a guy that I know when I won a couple times, he was one I was racing to beat. So
Paul Tracy, throw Paul Tracy in the middle.
Yeah, Paul was good too here. Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of them. I mean, if you're a good driver, you're going to be good here.
All right. What are you guys working on here the last 20 minutes?
Yep.
Balance,
and we'll see what we do with new tires here.
All right, back in the car now, Marco Andretti, sticker tires ready to go, and we'll see if he can add his name this weekend to his grandfather and his dad, Michael, as well as a winner, a champion here at Road America.
Well, he never found his way to victory lane as a driver at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, as he referenced. One thing's for sure, Jake, Michael knows where it is as a team owner.
Interesting, because no question about that. And not only that, but his commitment to not only the Verizon IndyCar Series, but really the entire Mazda Road to Indy Ladder Series as well, and Michael Andretti's commitment to helping out open wheel racing in North America. There was a luncheon earlier today here at the facility that Michael Andretti, Paul Tracy, and Juan Montoya were answering questions. Montoya was asked the question, Mark, by Robin Miller, who was emceeing the event, and he asked him, what is the most special IndyCar win that you have had in your career? I thought Montoya's answer was very interesting. He said, probably Long Beach in 1999, because that was my first win, and at that time I felt like if I could win an IndyCar, I could win in anything. And for a guy who has essentially won in about everything, I thought that was an interesting answer. Dave, both of us kind of looked at each other when Juan Montoya gave that answer.
Yeah, but you talked to Dario like we did earlier, and it's, of all the wins he has and 3 Indy 500s, he says that first win is oh so special, just because you never know, I guess, how good you are or if you're worthy of winning a race in a top open wheel American series like this. So Montoya is obviously special. The guy has won a couple Indy 500s, but it is interesting to see when they say, oh yeah, it's long. You expect Indianapolis, okay, the 500. No, it's Long Beach. Interesting talking to Michael. He was talking about Al Unser Jr. at this place being the king of Road America. And the funny thing is, Al Unser Jr. never won here at Road America. So like Michael said, you feel like you're on top of any race course. You think, okay, this is it. I've got this field covered. And sometimes it just never happens. But you think about all the great champions that have won here at Road America. Obviously, Mario's a 3-time champion. Emerson Fittipaldi's won here. Danny Sullivan, who became pretty good on the ovals, but was primarily a road racer. Sullivan won here. Paul Tracy was the champion as well. Jacques Villeneuve before he took off from Formula One, a former champion here. How about Alex Zanardi, another champion here? And Cristiano D'Amato, you go back into the kart and the Champ Car days as well. And Sebastian Bourdais is essentially the reigning champion. He was the last one to win here in IndyCar Series action back in 2007. So many great champions at this place, and it's an honor. This is my first time being at Road America, and I think, Jake, you hit the nail on the head earlier. You hear about a place, then you show up at a place, and you realize, oh, now I get what they're talking about. Rob Howden?
Yeah, guys, standing down here with Sebastian Bourdais, and of course David mentioning that he has been very strong here at Road America in the past. Obviously, Bourdais been in and out of the top 10, currently sitting P6 in the Hydroxy Cut entry for KVSH Racing. He's happy with the race car right now, but they're still continuing to make changes. It was very, very loose this morning, but I spoke with the team and they're laughing. They're saying that right now his expectations are so high here at Road America. Of course, he's won here before, but he's also never qualified off the front row. 2 pole positions, 2 runner-up runs in qualifying. He wants the front row again, so I don't think that Sebastian is going to be happy. The car's pretty good, P6 right now, but if he doesn't put this thing on the front row, they're not going to have a happy driver of the Hydroxy Cut number 11.
These guys are wearing the curbing out. It's really upsetting the balance of the race car, causing them to get off course, and they're going to continue to challenge it. And they're pushing that ragged edge, especially the later in the session we go. We get closer to those qualifying sims as we get ready for knockout qualifying of the Firestone Fast 6 tomorrow. With 19 minutes remaining, Graham Rahal continues P1. Power, Chilton, Hunter Ray, and Rossi. An announcement made this afternoon, announced by the Verizon IndyCar Series. We have more specifics now about the completion plan for the Firestone 600. The race will resume at Texas Motor Speedway after completing 71 of 248 scheduled laps. It'll be completed on August the 27th. This is of note. The 18 Dale Coyne machine of Connor Daly and the 21 car of Joseph Newgarden from Ed Carpenter Racing will not be permitted to participate in the race due to the extensive chassis and engine damage sustained in the crash on lap 42. James Hinchcliffe, of course, the race leader after a completed 71 laps. Now, cars continuing in the race will be permitted to use the chassis and engine of their choice for the completion day. Tire allotment and fuel quantity for the completion have yet to be determined. A pre-race aero setups from the June event will be mandatory for the August date, but IndyCar can make changes prior to the completion based on the weather forecast for race weekend. Again, 177 laps will be run at the conclusion of the August 27th schedule. It includes a mandatory systems check, essentially an in and out lap only, a 25-minute practice session. Cars will be split into 2 groups. Each group gets 10 minutes of time with a 5-minute break between. Driver autograph session for the fans on the concourse. Completion of the race that evening in Texas Motor Speedway. Jake has not released any ticket information yet. They will do so at a later date. Most notably, though, questions have been answered. Regardless of how things play out for Joseph Newgarden this weekend, he will not finish the race at Texas Motor Speedway, nor will Connor Daly.
And it was an interesting debate about that. I think the right decision has been made, and I'm not saying that because the decision was made and therefore, you're trying to toe the company line. The reality is this. If you have decided that the completion of this race on August 27th is not indeed a postponement altogether, or that race was a cancellation, but rather you are simply resuming, then you are resuming under the race conditions. And the reality, Mark, is that in that situation, those 2 cars would not, had we finished the race on that Sunday, would not have finished the race. They would not have been able to come back into the race. So while the circumstances are very unique, it would not have been the case that either of them would have had time to in that circumstance, Dave, on the same day, be able to finish it. So therefore, now, the one interesting tidbit to this, Dave, is the fact that in Newgarden's case, there is still the chance that this is a key component in terms of a points championship, if he's going to be in there. In particular, when you see the fact that Newgarden is racing this weekend, we thought he would not be in the car. He is in the car. It looks like that's going to be the case for the entire weekend. But now, not being in Texas, you wonder if that would not have affected his decision to perhaps accelerate getting back in the car here at Road America.
Well, let me add to the debate on all of this, and I guarantee you this is something that is being talked about in the 21 Transporter, and for that matter, Connor Daly's as well. But when we go back, and I say we, meaning the Verizon IndyCar Series, when the series goes back to Texas, so many other elements will change. It's not like everything was frozen. The car, I mean, what are the odds, and let's face it, they're going to be pretty good, that teams, when they go back to Texas, are going to be taking different race cars back to Texas? The odds that some of these guys have the same chassis, be it if they have an accident here this weekend or Iowa or Toronto, there's a chance that teams will go with different chassis back to Texas. The odds are really good that they're going to have different engines when they go back to Texas. So there are so many variables that are going to change. Personally, I'm a little surprised that they're not allowing Connor and Joseph to get back in a race car and race once again at Texas. But that's the ruling. That's what it is. And the teams are going to have to live with it, obviously. But it is curious because there are so many variables that are going to change as we head back there in a couple of weeks.
I think what it boils down to more than anything else, Jake, according to the race, is because of the damage done to the car and the damage done to the engine.
Right. Yeah, that's and again, you are simulating as if you're picking right up where the race left off. I mentioned this earlier, Mark, but I think it's interesting. Just before we went to Texas, I had to record and do some things with Joseph Newgarden, and we were sitting casually talking off the air, and I asked him, just because we were talking about different drivers in the series and who he enjoyed racing against and whatnot. And to get a gauge on that, I said, let me ask you this. If you were in a situation where, and I used actually Sonoma as the analogy, I said, if going into the race in Sonoma, you were in contention for a points championship and something happened where you just simply couldn't make it there, and they said, as a result of that, Joseph, we'll let somebody else get in the car and you can get whatever points they accumulate and get credit for them, who would you pick? Obviously just a hypothetical. And he said, he thought about it for a minute, and he said, I'd probably have to go with J.R. Hildebrand. I would most trust J.R. Hildebrand. Now, I'm not saying that because of that conversation, that's why the unfortunate accident in Texas, but here it was that as a result of that accident in Texas, Mark, who was the guy that was slated to fill in for him should the situation present itself where Newgarden is not able from a health standpoint to go, none other than J.R. Hildebrand. And in talking about it, I think a lot of us felt like the Texas race, if he was allowed to get back into it, then he would absolutely want to be in the car this weekend to get as many points as possible. But now we know that the points that he'll get in Texas will be those points that are assigned to what I believe would have been the first out. I can't remember if there was anybody who had a mechanical before that.
13 minutes left in the session. Graham Rahal continues P1. And Dave, first to kind of put a period on the discussion involving Joseph Newgarden, J.R. Hildebrand. You also talked, we talked earlier today with Ed Carpenter, the team owner, and I think in adding to what the observation, Dave, first that Jake just made about J.R. Hildebrand, Joseph Newgarden, their relationship, I think it made sense from the standpoint that clearly there's already a very solid relationship between J.R. Hildebrand and Ed Carpenter.
Well, exactly. I mean, they're all friends, perhaps more so than a lot of guys up and down the paddock area. I mean, heck, their nickname during the month of May back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway was Team America. That's what they called themselves, the three drivers out in the Indy 500. They're all good friends. They all are competitive and competitors as well, and each one of them would love to be in that machine. But if you're Joseph Newgarden, it's not like Wally Pipp that he's afraid that if Hildebrand gets in the car, that Newgarden will never see any light of the day again. But trust me, it's just an interesting debate, and it's going to continue, I think, until we go back to Texas, because different chassis are going to show up, different engines are going to show up. But hey, it is what it is. Rob Howden.
Yeah, guys, standing down here right now with the Gallagher number 8 of Max Chilton, actually having a really solid session. Max was up into P2 for a time. He's now slipped to 5th. But I talked to his engineer, Brandon Fry, and Brandon very pleased with the way things are going right now. They elected not to put another set of Firestones on. They decided to hold one set back for the next session, but they are very happy with the way Max has been approaching this track. Unlike Alexander Rossi, the rookie who has a lot of experience here in lower horsepower cars, this is not a facility that Max has ever been to before, but the flowing nature of this track is one that Max really, really likes. And that's when I looked at Brandon, I said, does he like this racetrack? Just a big smile on Brandon's face. He says, oh yeah, he absolutely loves this track. And I think you're seeing it, of course, now apply itself into his speed. Top 5 right now, liking the way the car is, and they haven't even gotten new tires near at the end of the session. Dave, first?
Yeah, just an update on Marco Andretti, who was at the bottom of the speed chart here during this practice session. They did slap on that fresh set of sticker blacks. Much better that time around, although still on a fresh set of tires, you would expect that Marco Andretti would do a little bit better than a top 10, but that's where he is right now, 10th quick at a minute 43 and change around this 14-turn, 4-mile layout. As we take a look up, looks like Tony Kanaan got a little sideways as well, but he continues on. Tell you what, fellas, Kanaan is having a really nice weekend. Top 5 in session number 1 this morning, and he's 3rd quick so far here this afternoon.
Graham Rahal, Will Power, Tony Kanaan, Carlos Munoz, Max Chilton, your top 5. Elio Castroneves, Scott Dixon, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Alexander Rossi is 9th. Marco Andretti 10th. Joseph Newgarden 11th. Sebastian Bourdais is 12th. Montoya 13th. Hawksworth 14th. Hinch is 15th. Pagano 16th. Mikel Aloshin 17th. Gabby Chavez is 18th. Takuma Sato is 19th. Charlie Kimball 20th. Connor Daly 21st. Spencer Pigot 22nd. Less than 10 minutes remaining in this final practice session. Session tomorrow before we go qualifying in preparation for Sunday's Kohler Grand Prix here at Road America.
The best drivers on earth aren't going to push the limits of man and machine riding on just any old piece of rubber. Which is why Firestone is the tire of the Verizon IndyCar Series. So when it's time to celebrate the 100th running of the Indy 500, no one knows more about celebrating than the tire that has more Indy wins than anyone else. Because at Firestone, we don't just make tires. We make champions. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.
From the Firestone broadcast booth at Road America, this is the Verizon IndyCar Series.
Again, time winding down on practice session number 2 here at Road America. Mark James, Jake Query, Rob Howden, Dave First, bringing you all the action from this final session here on the return of the Verizon IndyCar Series to Road America. And Jake, it's interesting. You look at the dominance of one Simon Pagenaud throughout most of this season. 3 wins in a row, putting himself in front by 80 points in the battle for the points championship as we speak. There are whispers here and there. What's wrong with Tony Kanaan? What's wrong with Elio Castroneves? Those same whispers were being directed at Will Power for a while. It had been, a year or more since he got himself to victory lane. And Jake, I'm not so sure that there's necessarily anything wrong with any of those drivers. I'd like to think it's more to the depth and the talent of the field from top to bottom in this series.
You know what was wrong with Will Power? Simon Pagenaud, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Scott Dixon, Elio Castroneves. You know what's wrong with Simon Pagenaud if he's not going to win? Ryan Hunter-Reay, Scott Dixon, Elio Castroneves, Will Power. That's the parity at the top, Mark, not only from a team standpoint. We didn't even mention Montoya. We didn't mention guys like Munoz, Kanaan that you always have to keep into consideration.
Hinch, Bourdais.
Alexander Rossi, Hinch, Bourdais. Bourdais is a guy. Nick and I were talking about it earlier today, Mark. When you look at career resume, Sebastian Bourdais over the last 15 years has been as good in open wheel racing and as diverse as anybody that you're going to find. Bourdais, he has the same number of wins, I believe, as does Scott Dixon. They're right there. So a lot of talent. No, absolutely no doubt about it. Pagenaud right now, though, to your point, 18th in terms of this session and overall speed. Now, sometimes, and in a session like this, you would think that at some point we would have seen the best that each team has to offer for a car in terms of tipping their hand. But when you look at some of these teams that have a number of different cars, you look at Penske, you have Simon Pagenaud there, you have Montoya, you have Power, you have Castroneves. Elio finds himself 7th on the speed chart. Then you look your way down, Will Power is 2nd in the speed chart. Montoya finds himself, I'm looking for Montoya, 4th on the speed chart. Then you dip all the way down to Pagenaud. Mark, oftentimes it is the case, and sometimes it's Montoya that falls into this group. Perhaps they're going out and simply trying different strategies. It's possible that Pagenaud has gone out and done nothing here for the team but go in a race setup, go on a full fuel run, simply try to see how the car works in different sort of air combinations, and as a result of that, It is the other members of the team that have done a qualifying setup, and that setup will then be transferred to the car of Simon Pagenaud. Unlikely, but you can't rule out that possibility that that 22 machine is not perfectly set up and that it is not representative of what we'll see in qualifying.
And Rob Howden, let's face it, that tire management game is one that teams play throughout practice and qualifying. A team that comes to mind that has pulled that off masterfully is Dale Coyne. I mean, they've managed those alternate reds and those primary blacks to the point to where their whole goal throughout the course of a weekend was simply to get into the round of 12. That's an interesting approach, but it's been successful for them.
Well, you know, Mark, I think that's exactly the story I'm working on right now, talking to a couple of people down here in pit lane, a couple of the guys in the media. They got to remember, there's only so many sets of tires available for today. You had to get out on the racetrack and get enough laps early in the session number 1 to get that last set of tires. So a number of drivers are already bolting on fresh Firestone blacks here right now, getting set to go. I'm right here with James Hinchcliffe in the Aero number 5. He's got new stickers on as well, and I guarantee as I walk up pit lane, myself or Dave first, we're going to find guys like Simon Pagenaud still with a sticker tire run to come. The way they're lining up right now, I think, is just the way these guys have been playing the tire game throughout the day. We're going to see some fast times still, I believe, before this session gets checkered.
So, Dave, tell us, in your trips up and down pit road, the crews that you've been watching, have we seen a steady parade of tires tossed over the wall and back and forth?
I think so in the last just a couple of minutes or so. I'm looking at Tony Kanaan's pit, and they've got a set of sticker blacks ready to go on the 10 machine when TK comes back into pit lane. So I would expect here, we've got 5-6 minutes remaining in this practice session activity. Business should definitely be picking up down here.
Jake, it's interesting. We've watched the monitor all day long. Turn 12 has been one of the most troublesome spots for these drivers. Turn 3 has also presented some challenges, and let's face it, if you have all that momentum build up and you make the slightest bit of mistake, especially a couple of the places where you're starting to go uphill where the elevation really changes, just one minor mistake can throw away an opportunity, especially if it's late in the race. And boy, you could throw away a podium or a top 5 and find yourself free falling through the field.
Well, and in addition to that, Mark, it's different today in practice and in qualifying, where for the most part you're going into these turns and you're doing so by your lonesome without really any dirty air in front of you or anyone even beside you if you're trying to make a move because of the fact that everybody's going out at different times. You get in a race situation, in particular coming off of a caution flag, as we see Jack Hawksworth, just as I mentioned it, has gotten off the racetrack here. You get in a situation where everybody's bunched up, then things become a little bit different.
And see, here's the issue, Jake. That's a red flag situation for Jack Hawksworth, and that's leading toward turn number 2 or maybe just off of turn number 2. And Jake, if that's the case, there are 3 minutes remaining in this session, less than 3 minutes now. I'm not sure they will extend it, and Jake, we may very well see the checkers on the session.
Yep, and it's been a long session at that, and a lot of laps turned, 333 laps as a matter of fact. And one of the guys that we have been watching very closely, 13th fastest on the speed chart, he's the pilot of car number 21. He is Joseph Newgarden.
Right.
Dave?
13th quick in this second session that may have just been called because of the red flag out here. We'll see how that plays out. But Joseph Newgarden's already climbed out of the number 21 machine, the preferred Friesian Services Chevrolet. All right. How'd it go? Session number 2.
It went okay. I think we got through a lot of really good stuff. I feel really good about where we're at. I think we got a really fast car, to be honest with you. We're trying to save a little tire life here with some of these other guys, so we opted to not do another tire run there at the end and, focus more on doing more tomorrow and having more tires later. But I really think the car's fast. I think we made some really good changes in that session, so we should be close. I'll be surprised if we're not towards the top 6 tomorrow. I really think we can get into that area.
Checkered flag, by the way, is out. That's in session 2 here today, and this Friday of 2 practices for the Verizon IndyCar Series at beautiful Road America. You said the car, it looks pretty good. How's the driver looking?
It's going to be tough. I keep saying it, but I think it's going to be really tough. It's bumpy, man. Like the track's bumpier than it looks. You hit a lot of curbs. You're really moving the wheel on the high speed. So it's gonna be hard on my hand, I think, the most, but I'm gonna do whatever I got to do to be all right, because I think the car is fast. I think we can, maybe put it on pole and win the race. So, I got to make it work if that's how I'm feeling about it.
So is it any tougher than you thought at this point? To the pain threshold you're going through or whatever inside that car?
I think it's been better, actually, than I imagined. I really worried more about the clavicle, today, and I think it's been easier to manage that than I predicted. I actually think that's not been too painful. It's sore, but it's not painful. I think my hand has been more painful to deal with today, and so if I can find out how to, make that a little bit better for tomorrow, I think I'm going to be in good shape.
You're going to soldier on, aren't you?
Well, I come this far. I'm not going to stop. I don't want to look like a jerk wimping out there. What I don't want to do is I don't want to fatigue out and then have to stop. So I'll do whatever I got to do at this point to keep going.
A lot of fans are glad to see you back in the car. Good luck the rest of the weekend, okay?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Joseph Newgarden. Let's go to Rob Howden, who's with the driver P1 in this practice session, Graham Rahal.
Standing right here with Graham, the driver of the number 15 Gale machine. Graham, obviously you got to be pleased with the way things went today. I know there's obviously issues, and you've got to get the car even quicker. You guys know you can never stop, but you guys did a lot of work over that session. You did some spring changes. The team went to work to make sure you had a good race car.
Yeah, our guys continue to work hard on the Gale car, and it's nice to end up fastest, but we all know it's just Friday, and we're really limited on tires, so I'm surprised that we ended up where we did, because we definitely have a set less than everybody else here, but we really only used one set today, so pretty pleased, or two total, but really pleased with our tire usage, with everything that kind of faced us in the first session, and good pace. That lap should have been better. I'm a little disappointed in myself because I threw probably a tenth away at least in the last corner. But keep our heads down, keep pounding hard. We got to make the rear of the car better. It's pretty neutral, but we'll keep trying.
How about just a personal comment about being back here at Road America? There's a buzz around here right now.
It's awesome. You don't even understand, man. I on the outlaps, you see everybody, and I'm telling you, the crowd is spectacular. It's far better than I ever remember a Friday being here. The people everywhere. It's just, it's so cool, and we cannot thank the fans enough. We can't thank IndyCar fans enough in general. But people that come and support events like this, it proves to Mark Miles and all the guys, that have never really been here, exactly what Road America is all about.
You got some history here, too. If I'm not mistaken, you did some pretty good go-kart racing down at the track over there.
Yeah, you would remember those days. So, yeah, my first big national event win in the pro category, ICC, was here, and Donnie was my crew chief now, was my one mechanic then. We were talking about that earlier today, so pretty cool.
Let's see if we can bookend that with a win here this weekend.
It'd be awesome. It'd be nothing better. Our season, we need it.
Graham Rahal, folks, looking good here, but he said it is Friday. He knows, long way to go still before we go to the main event on Sunday.
Jake, I not only like where Graham Rahal is as a driver right now, but just the way he carries himself, especially, when we talked to him at moments where he was frustrated like he was in that first session, and then to talk to him when things are going well. He gives it the same amount of effort, the same amount of access, and I think it just speaks to the tremendous maturation of Graham Rahal as a driver.
I don't think you find any driver that works harder to promote the series than Graham Rahal. There may be some that do the same amount. There's certainly, and there are a lot who do a lot less. But Graham Rahal works as hard to promote IndyCar and what they are doing and where it can be seen in the different racetracks than anybody in the series.
Well, tomorrow's a busy day. We'll start at 11 o'clock Central. We'll have IndyCar practice at the final session before we go qualifying. At lights race number 1, our driver analyst, Zach Veach, the pole sitter, will lead them to the green flag. We'll have that one for you at noon Central. Then we'll go IndyCar qualifying tomorrow at 2:55 Central Time. Our thanks to Rick Evans, who's our on-site producer and chief engineer. Wally Levitt is the director of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network. Our thanks to Dave First and Rob Howden. Great stuff, as always, on Pit Road. For Jake Query, I'm Mark Janes. So long for now from Road America.
This is the Verizon IndyCar Series on the Advance Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
A.J. Foyt down the main straightaway. The checkered flag is out. A.J.'s hand in the air. He is the winner. A.J. Foyt at Indianapolis has won his 4th 500-mile race. A.J. Foyt, our winner. The flag will fly now for Tom Sneva and then for Al Unser. We will be talking with all of these drivers in just a moment. Lou Palmer is in victory lane as A.J. Foyt takes now his victory lap around the 2.5 miles of Indianapolis. A record-breaking end to a record-breaking month. A.J. Foyt, the 4th win at Indianapolis. A month that saw the 200-mile-an-hour barrier broken, not just in the practice where it is unofficial, but in the qualifying by Tom Sneva, our second-place car at the moment. And then, too, the first woman to enter, to qualify, and to compete in a 500-mile race, Janet Guthrie of New York City. But for the moment, the name is A.J. Foyt of Houston, Texas. The car is his, a Coyote. The engine is his, a Foyt V8. And happiness, fame, and fortune are his, too. He is the winner of the 61st running of the Indianapolis 500. Pat Sedan continues to display the checkered flag to the 11 other cars running on the race course at the moment. They hand him now the red flag. He will use that in just minutes to stop the race, to bring the cars into the pits. A.J. cruises through the pit area. Very
What did you do in Le Mans? Do you care to explain?
From the fire
Mario,
yeah, for the
Franchitti.